Hello, former Crusaders, and welcome to our latest episode. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. It's 2024, which means it's our time for one of our most favorite episodes that we like to talk about, even though it depresses us by the end of the year, our most anticipated films of the year. In this episode, we will be going over our 35 films, more than 35, but we each have 35, which is probably going to cross a lot, that we are excited to see that are supposed to come out this year. Whether or not they do is always the mystery. I would say was about 2020, like maybe 40% actually came out. And then 2021 is about
not even
50 to
in
60. And
2020.
then last year was about probably 80. I
Yeah,
looked at
this year I have 7 movies from last year's list that are on my list again this year. But to be fair, only 3 of those were actually like dated. The other ones were just ones that were expected to come out in 2023 that didn't. So
I think 5 or 6 from last year is on this year. So it's getting better. And I feel like with this year, because of the strike, normally we do like top 20, top 25, but because we have such an influx of stuff being forced into 2024 because of the writer strike, we had to go to 35 just because there's so many things coming, at least in theory, so many things coming out this year. Obviously, there's things where they'll get pushed back because of studios not wanting to release them on certain days and what have you. But as of right now, every movie on my list and every movie on Brian's list is projected to come out in 2024. Whether they do or not, it's an entirely different situation. But we're going to talk about the movies. We probably won't go into super great detail because we don't know a lot of them. So
that's always the fun part of this, is like we're going on what information we have, which is why I give the same disclaimer I give at the beginning of this thing every year, which is that we're going to miss some stuff that's going to be great movies because we don't know about everything coming out. A lot of the stuff tends to be sequels because those are the things that are like known quantities. But there's movies that are going to come out of nowhere that we didn't hear about, so those won't make our list right now.
If we look at like previous year's best ofs, RRR, never knew that was a fucking thing. Harder They Fall, didn't really know that was a thing. Was it last
some of our
year?
favorite films, yeah.
Godzilla -1. We didn't know Godzilla -1 was a new movie coming out when we did anticipate it last year. But we also have movies on here that have probably been on here multiple times. 65, which was one of my most disappointed of the films last year. That was on like 2 years in a row's anticipated list. Cocaine Bear for Brian, or Toxic Avenger for Brian has been on.
Did not make my list this year.
Well, it's because it's already out. You can't.
No, it only opened at film festivals. It never has come out yet still.
It's probably won't, though. It'll probably be straight to stream.
I'm sure it probably will.
You'll be on Vudu one day, and you'll just see Toxic Avenger pop up.
I'm sure that's what's going to happen. It is going to come out this year, but now it's no longer most anticipated because, like you said, this year there is such a glut of more movies to choose from. So
yeah, exactly. So we're going to do this the same way we did the best of and worst of. We're going to go through our list. If my number 34 anticipated film is Brian's like 5th, he'll say we'll talk about it later, and then we will talk about it when we get to his ranking of it because he's higher up. So that way we're not talking about multiple movies in multiple different areas. So let's go ahead and get into it. My number 35 is a movie that we saw a trailer for last month. Obviously last month because it's fucking January. This is a movie that didn't know was a thing. It comes out this month. So I'm going to start off with a movie that actually is released relatively beginning. And it stars 2 people that I enjoy and 1 person in a role that not that I don't think she's capable of it, but I didn't think I'd see something like her in this. And that is Miller's Girl. We got Martin Freeman. We got Jenna Ortega. And this is basically kind of like we don't know who's playing who in this. It kind of looks like Martin Freeman's character, he's like a professor. Is it high school or college? I think it's got to be college.
I think it's a college, like because he's specifically a writing professor.
He's a writing professor, and Jenna Ortega is kind of like his star pupil student, and so he starts to give her extra assignments, and there's flirtation there. And at first you think, oh, Martin Freeman is basically kind of trying to urge her into doing some naughty stuff, but then by halfway through the trailer, it's like, or is she messing with him? So it's a very intriguing trailer. You don't really know what to go, but I'm excited because I love these 2 actors. And as long as the script is solid, this could actually be a surprise, like, damn, really good movie to start off the year. Did this make your list at all?
No, this is something like we were just talking about that came out of nowhere. I had never even heard of this movie or knew it was coming
Oh
out.
yeah.
But I saw the trailer and it does look very intriguing. Didn't quite make my top list yet, but I'm definitely gonna check it out when it comes out.
All right, what's your 35?
My 35 is a movie we were just talking about before we came on, and that is Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim.
Now this, I did not know this. This is my bad for not looking into it a little bit more deeper. This was in my top 10 because I was a dumbass and thought they're making another live action Lord of the Rings. Awesome. And then I found out no, it's animated or anime. And I was like, and it's completely off the list. So I was excited for this until like earlier today, when I read more about it to find on the list, and then it completely fell off.
See, I knew it wasn't going to be a Lord of the Rings live action movie, but still, it is still Lord of the Rings. So I'm excited to see it, and it is animated, but it's not going to be like the old crappy animated Lord of the Rings movies. This is, I'm hearing it's kind of an anime style, but I'm not sure how much, what they consider anime and what they don't. But still, just being any Lord of the Rings story is going to be, I think, interesting. I know it's got a voice cast. The only returning person I recognized was Miranda Otto as Eowyn, but
That was the only real, yeah, and Brian Cox.
Brian Cox seems to be kind of the main person in there.
Yeah.
And one of the executive producer is one of the same people that worked on Lord of the Rings, so the films. So this is an unknown quantity. We haven't seen trailer, haven't seen anything about it, but just being Lord of the Rings, it was worth at least to make my honorable mention section, which is my 31 to 35. So.
Yep. My number 34 is, and Brian will get kicked out of this because we always have at least one movie a year where we go to this side of the brain. A couple years back, it was oh god, what was it called? It was horrible. It's the Ana de Armas movie on Hulu with Ben Affleck.
Oh, Deep Water or something like that.
Deeper or Deep Water or something like that. And we were like, oh, our horny side of our brains gotta go. Oh yeah, it's Ana de Armas having sex movie. Let's put that in. I think it's Deep Water.
Yeah, Deep Water. Yeah.
This 34 is that as well because the trailer, because it was supposed to come out last year, but Writer's Strike pushed it to this year. But just by the trailer alone goes, I'm intrigued for two reasons. One, the sex factor in this, and two, it is a sports movie, and that is Challengers. This has got Zendaya. I don't know really the two guys in this. It's Mike Fast from West Side Story.
Yes.
Who I actually liked in West. He's one of the ones I was like, this guy's actually really good. And Josh O'Connor, basically, it's like a Three's Company situation, a throuple between three tennis players. The trailer makes it look sexy as hell, and I actually like tennis movies. I'm not crazy about tennis, the sport in real life.
Tells me tennis is the least part of this movie.
Oh, I feel like it is too, because that's the driving marketing for this is sex. And you know what? I have no problem seeing this, and I have no problem admitting that this is why I care for this movie. That's why it's down at 34 for me. But he had sports, he had sex. I actually really like Zendaya, so I'm cool with that. And Mike Fast, I really liked him in West Side Story, so this intrigues me. So that's why it's at 34 for me.
Yeah, not on my list, but I am interested in seeing it for probably the same reasons.
We are men. We're not going to deny that we're not going to watch things for certain reasons, but it's not like we're like those creepos who are in the fucking theater jerking off and stuff like that. We have tastes, people, but we will decide that, just like, a movie that we're going to be talking about a little bit later, starring Ana de Armas. Other than being a badass, it's because she's fucking gorgeous. But anyway, what is your 34?
My 34 is another animated film, and this is Transformers 1.
We'll be talking about that later.
Okay.
My 33 is a movie that I was so... Okay, I will preface this, and you're going to go, really? Even though I think you already know this. Because I think this was on last year's Anticipated for me. I've never seen the original. I will watch the original before this comes out, which I think it comes out in March. I am intrigued by this because of the lead and because of the director, and that is Roadhouse.
Later.
Okay. All right. Then we will talk about that later. Go to your 33.
My 33 is Borderlands.
Later.
Okay.
We're going to, like I said, this is going to be a lot of
the first half of these lists are going to be like this.
It's going to be a crossover. Number 32 for me is a movie that I think we're probably going to be talking about later, but it might be relatively soon because I remember you saying this was on your Anticipated. I added this, and that is the movie Distant.
I took it off my list.
Did you?
Well, just because Technically, the last date it had was like later this month in January, but there's been
Mm.
no word on it. And then I looked into it, and like it got removed from the schedule again. So it could still come out this year. It could be next year. I don't know. So, but yes, I'm anticipating this as well. But I took it off my list just because I wasn't even sure if it's coming out. But go ahead and talk about
All
it.
right. Yeah, Distant, I'll read the synopsis real quick. After crash landing on an alien planet, an asteroid miner must contend with the challenge of his new surroundings while making his way across the harsh terrain to the only other survivor, a woman who is still trapped in her escape pod. Intriguing plot. What gets me is the cast that has at least been announced, which is Anthony Ramos, who we love, Naomi Scott, who I believe you like. I really enjoy her, and Zachary Quinto, Spock himself. He might just be a robot voice in this because it's a space movie. So why would I not think he would just be the fucking machine intercom? Because he's got that kind of voice. But you give me Ramos, you give me Naomi Scott. I'm already sitting there. You added Quinto, cool. But yeah, just the plot of it. Like I said, it's one of those movies like 65 was, which was like an astronaut lands on a weird planet with a girl. We know nothing else, and all of a sudden the trailer comes out and it's fucking dinosaurs. Who knows what Distance is really going to be about? There's not even really a legitimate poster for this. It's just a picture. It's just a poster with the word Distant on it.
Yeah.
It may not come out this year. And because of that, that's why it's low on my list. But you put that cast together, I'm intrigued enough to put it on.
Yeah, I kind of think it'll come out at some point this year because it's been. I want to say it's been 2 years that this keeps getting bumped back.
Plus, in terms of director,
Yeah, it's a weird.
yeah,
It's the directors of like Office Christmas Party and Blades of Glory doing this thing.
and one of your worst films of the year, Lyle Lyle Crocodile.
Oh yeah, there's that.
Yeah, and Will Speck. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, they're a duo group. So yeah. What was your 32?
My 32 is one might surprise you to have on my list. I don't know, you probably have it higher. And that's I think it's an A24 film. It is Nosferatu.
Definitely higher on my list.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later. Number 31 may not be on your list because I know you're not a fan of the director. He is, I would say, when he first started, he was very good, and now he has like one good movie out of every 5, and that is the new M. Night Shyamalan film Trap. Talk or no?
I didn't put it on my list. No.
Okay. M. Night Shyamalan is not the selling factor for me on this. The selling factor for me on this is two things. One is the location of the film, and two is the lead. This basically right now, the plot is unknown. It's only being described as a psychological thriller set in a concert. That seems really, really cool. Okay. But the lead, Josh Hartnett. M. Night with Josh Hartnett, I'm there. I'm hoping it's not a Lady in the Water or the Village situation, but just with that piece of information, I'm willing to be excited for it, even though I've claimed on this channel many, many times M. Night Shyamalan is one of the greatest con artists in Hollywood. His trailers look fucking amazing. His movies start off strong, and then halfway through the film, it's like he pops up going, "Got your money, bye," and the movies fall to shit. Case in point, look at Glass. But he does do good movies like Split and Signs and Sixth Sense and stuff and Unbreakable. But he's the worry that I've got. If it was any other director and it'd probably be higher. M. Night is what drops it down to 30.
And this, if I knew more about it, it might have made my list because I am happy to see this kind of resurgence Josh Hartnett's kind of trying to do right now.
Oh, yeah.
It randomly has Haley Mills from The Parent Trap is in this movie as well. So it's weird.
Yeah. So, what is your 31? No, 30, right?
My 31 is a movie called Y2K.
I don't know what this is.
Here's your synopsis. When a group of nerdy high schoolers attempts to go to the cool kids' New Year's Eve party on December 31st, 1999, the Y2K bug kicks in and computers start running amok and going on a killing spree. So it sounds like it's kind of a horror comedy kind of thing. What gets me, I like the cast that's in this. Jaden Martell, who I believe is one of the guys from It or Stranger Things. Which one's he? He's the one from.
What's? Oh yeah. He was in Knives Out. He was the lead in It.
He's this Rachel Zegler. I like Mason Gooding, who we've seen a lot of stuff like the Scream movies lately. Yeah. Alicia Silverstone has a supporting part in it. Julia Dennison. It's just it's got an interesting cast, and it's I'm always down for kind of a sci-fi horror comedy kind of thing.
Random director, or is it someone we know?
Well, that's the bad part. It's directed by Kyle Mooney.
Not SNL Kyle Mooney.
Yes. Now this is the first time he's ever directed anything. Like I don't know if you saw Brigsby Bear.
I did
Brigsby Bear
not
is
see Grizzly Bear because it had Kyle fucking Mooney in it.
it's actually a decent movie, except for him. Now the good thing is he's not acting in this movie, so I'm like maybe it'll be good.
Yes,
But
but
that's
if
what
I see
this is
any
why
of
I kept it so low because I'm like I'm curious mostly because of the cast, but it's like he's holding me back.
here's my worry about him directing. I've seen his shorts on SNL. That's his shit right there, and it's him acting like this all the time. And how's he not going to tell them to do that? Now, granted, they're probably going to make it look cooler and less douchey than him. Yeah, I can't stand Kyle Mooney. If this is good, it might make me feel a little better about Kyle Mooney. But yeah, you had me until Kyle Mooney.
I knew you were gonna ask. I'm like, oh, now I got to tell him.
Yes. Oh God, fucking Kyle Mooney. Cannot stand that kid. Or he's not a kid. He's a fucking adult. I cannot stand that guy. My number 30 is a movie that before we started airing, Brian goes, I don't think it's coming out this year. I was like, well, I'm gonna keep it on my damn list, and that is the latest Jordan Peele film. Don't know jack about it yet. Literally,
As is usual with Jordan Peele films.
exactly. You're not gonna know. There's no point to even trying to figure it. Just hey, it's a Jordan Peele film. It's his newest one. I'm here for it. I loved Us. I thought Get Out was really, really good, but I watched it after the craze, so everyone talked it up as like this phenomenal film. And I was like, it's good. It's not like best picture worthy. I actually really enjoyed Us. Nope. I think I liked better later because I was disappointed by it, but then I watched it like a few months later and I was like, I actually do like this now. I think it's because I had that initial like excitement and it just didn't match my expectations. So with Jordan Peele's latest, I am excited to see what it's going to be, but a lot is also going to depend on the subject matter and where we're going with it. Did this make your list, or did you take it off because you didn't think it was coming out?
It absolutely would have made my list. Although when I was making my list, I checked on this one and I saw some things with him saying how he was working on it before the writer's strike and stuff, and then everything went on hold. And so he would just recently got to get started on finishing up the script and things like that. So obviously he hasn't been cast, nothing like that. So I highly doubt it's coming out this year. If it does, great. But I decided to bump it and make some room for other stuff.
I think I did hear that Steven Yeun is going to be one of the leads in it.
Oh, okay.
So, because you know him, he likes to use a lot of the same people if he can, and he was in Nope. So, hell yeah!
As long as he's not in a random scene with a monkey this time.
Yes. What was your number 30?
My number 30 is a movie called My Ex-Friend's Wedding. I'm guessing you haven't heard about this one either.
Nope.
This is directed by Kay Cannon, who the one thing she really directed was Blockers.
I didn't hate Blockers. I like Blockers.
She also wrote, I think, at least a couple, if not all, of the Pitch Perfect movies. But this is after receiving a drunken voicemail from a former BFF on the eve of her wedding day, confessing that she thinks she's making a mistake. 4 childhood former best friends plan to stop her from getting married. So, a fun little light, female-led comedy. But it's the cast that gets me. I'm not even sure which one's the bride, but it's got Ariana DeBose and Amanda Seyfried are the 2 top billed. And so based on that alone, it made the lower tiers of my anticipated.
Anyone else, or just those 2?
Chloe Fineman, who is somebody on Saturday Night Live, and a couple other people whose names I did not recognize. One of them was the voice of RC in Rise of the Beasts.
All right. My number 29 is a movie that I had added, then didn't remember what it was about, got rid of it, and then added it back again in today because I was like, oh shit, why did I remove this? This is hopefully going to be amazing. And that is Mickey 17. Nope. Okay. Mickey 17, and the real reason why this is automatically going up for me is the director and the cast around it. But the general plot of Mickey 17 is an expendable, or Mickey 17 is an expendable, a disposable employee on a human expedition sent to colonize the ice world Nephilim. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of its memories intact. I know, very wordy. But the director is Bong Joon-ho from Parasite. If he's got that, I'm kind of intrigued. But the cast, you've got Robert Pattinson, who really likes to go out there for his roles now. You also got Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette, Steven Yeun, and a couple other people that I don't recognize off the top of the head. Yeah, I don't know who those people are. But yeah, you got Bong Joon-ho, who I like him as a director. Really enjoy his work. And then you got Pattinson, who like now that he's no longer with Twilight, I actually really enjoy Pattinson for most of the stuff he does. And like I said, this is one of those weird kind of films that you don't think much of it, but then all of a sudden you start hearing word of mouth by this, and then all of a sudden this is like one of the most talked about movies of the year. So I dropped it because I was like, why the hell do I have Mickey 17 on this? And then I finally was like, oh wait, that's why, because it's Bong Joon-ho. But yeah, Mickey 17. What is your number 29?
My number 29 might be the first one that makes you say ugh. Um, I'm anticipating it, but on the lower levels. Rebel Moon Part 2, the Scar Giver, I think it's called.
I'm not gonna that. I'm intrigued to see how it ends, but it's just not gonna make my anticipated.
Right, because it's I enjoyed Part 1, but it very much was half of a story. It was entirely set up for this movie in theory.
Total setup.
It's just, I mean, because the whole thing is just the Magnificent Seven, basically, or Seven Samurai, or however far back you want to go in the story.
Yeah.
It's the same story, and the first one was just basically assembling the team with a couple action scenes tossed in just to keep you, interested. But I like the world. It's not nothing great. I'm not a Zack Snyder lover, and he has some of the same problems he always has with the overuse of slow-mo and things like that. But I still like a lot of the cast members in this, and I'm intrigued to see where it goes from here. It wasn't gonna be my top 10 or anything, but I am interested to see, where the story goes. Now, of course, the problem is these are the initial release cuts, and later on he's doing his 4-hour Zack Snyder cuts.
Yeah.
Because I guess they wanted to put out a PG-13 version first. I say just put them both out at the same time, let people choose what they want. But that's just me. But then they couldn't have the whole hype of the Snyder cuts. But so I mean, it is what it is. But I'm still interested to see these.
Yeah. Like I said, I wasn't the greatest fan of Rebel Moon. I didn't hate it. I was just disappointed with it. Especially since the most intriguing, charismatic character in the fucking movie they killed off at the end of Part 1. So it's kind of like, well, cool. My favorite character died. So yay. But yeah, it looks more exciting than the first one, so I'm definitely gonna watch it. I'm just not excited for it. I've heated my expectations for it, so maybe it'll open the
I just
doors.
want to see if Part 2 opens with a space vagina again.
That's what I was literally I was gonna say it, and then you took it out of my mouth. I was gonna say maybe this one opens up better than the first one did with a space vagina, but you cut me off, so you took the joke.
Because it's my movie, I lifted it.
That's fine. You can have it. Number 28 is a movie that we already have seen the trailer for. I already talked about it on previous episode. You are not that excited about it because you didn't like the cast, but what's getting me is the director, and that is Alex Garland's Civil War. I love Alex Garland as a director. I think visually he is like there with Snyder. Snyder loves using CG, green screen shit. Alex Garland, I just love how he shoots his stuff. I loved it in Annihilation. I loved Ex Machina. I really enjoy how he does his films. And Civil War, while the cast is not anything crazy, you got Kirsten Dunst, you got Jesse Plemons, who I enjoy. The rest of the cast, I mean, you got Nick Offerman as the president. The cast doesn't sell me on it, but you got Garland directing it. I think this movie's going to look great. I'm hoping that the story and the performances are what locks it in. But this could be either one of my surprising or most disappointing films for the first half of the year. Because I'm literally writing this all on Garland.
Yeah, honestly, this one just slipped through the cracks. I forgot to put it on my list. It probably would have been probably the same area, kind of around 30-ish. Because Alex Garland movies, if nothing else, they look good. I will say that. And the concept of it, I find really intriguing, especially in the current political atmosphere. It's basically taking with how things are like now and kind of saying this is where we're headed for. And so I always like that kind of near future kind of feel to movies. So I mean, I'm interested in this. The fact that it's A24 isn't great. Kirsten Dunst is not a great actress. Jesse Plemons, I've never been as impressed with as you. I do like him in some things like Game Night.
Well, but you didn't also watch like Friday Night Lights and like Breaking Bad and stuff.
Correct. Yeah.
So you didn't have that built in.
Yeah, I'm not bashing. I'm just saying I've never been as connected to him as you.
And Brian's already trying to integrate it into my brain like I did with him. He's trying to use this as a backdoor sequel to this is what the fuck's that title? Leave the World Behind.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you watch our worst episodes of the or worst movies of the year, he's trying to use this as a way for me to like be okay with it. Is as a backdoor sequel to that movie. Like I
I
think
mean,
it's family
if you like the movie, it kind of feels like the next step beyond that. But
yeah,
yeah,
we'll see if that tracks. But yeah, what's your 28?
a 28. I don't know if it's one you know about or not. It's called The Electric State. You heard of this movie?
Nope.
It is directed by the Russo brothers, who of course did a lot of Marvel films. They also did The Gray Man, which I enjoyed. This is a movie in a retro futuristic past. Orphan teenager Michelle traverses the American West with an eccentric drifter and a sweet but mysterious robot in search of her younger brother. Um, that's all I know about this movie.
Is there an actual cast for this?
But it's the Russo brothers, and here's your cast: Millie Bobby Brown, I can take or leave, but Chris Pratt, Brian Cox, Stanley Tucci, Jenny Slate, Jason Alexander, Giancarlo Esposito, Ke Huy Quan, Anthony Mackie, Billy Bob Thornton, and then a bunch of people I've never heard of. So
If
with
I had heard of this movie, this would have been on the list just off the cast alone.
yeah, the cast and the directors, I know they haven't had as much success outside of the Marvel stuff, but I really enjoyed The Gray Man.
I think a lot of people are just have them up here on expectations because they did Civil War and Endgame and Infinity War. Guys, that had like 12 plus years built into those movies. Like now they're trying to do their own shit. Like let them just work.
Yeah, and
You
this one
know?
I don't get the impression from the synopsis that it's an action film. It almost seems like it's more of a almost like a post-apocalyptic kind of thing.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what's going on, but it just intrigues me based on that alone.
There's only one name you said out of all those names that I wasn't happy about, and even that person, I'm more okay with him now than I was like 10 years ago, and that was Jason Alexander. I used to not be a real big fan of him, but now I'm kind of okay with him. But I like the rest of that cast. If I had heard of this movie, it'd be on my list.
And the one I didn't recognize, so I skipped, was Woody Norman, but that was the kid who was in Cobweb and Last Voyage of the Demeter this year.
Oh, okay. Okay. Speaking of Millie Bobby Brown, my number 27 is a film that we saw a sneak peek of last year. That really intrigued me mainly because of its plot, and that is Netflix's Damsel. This is basically a kind of like a medieval kind of film. You have a dutiful damsel agrees to marry a handsome prince, only to find that the royal family has recruited her as a sacrifice to repay an ancient debt. Thrown into a cave with a fire-breathing dragon, she must rely on her wits and will to survive. Obviously, starring Millie Bobby Brown, Nick Robinson, who I like from Jurassic World and love Simon. I'm assuming he plays the prince. Robin Wright, Ray Winstone, Angela Bassett. Pretty solid cast right there. And it's basically kind of like The Princess, which we hated or loved to hate, but actually grew to enjoy on
I
Hulu.
already watched it. I actually quite enjoyed that movie now.
I didn't get to watch it a second time because it got taken off of Hulu before I could. But it's her wielding a sword in the caves against a dragon. I'm sorry. I'm actually genuinely excited to see it.
Yeah, this is another one that slipped through the cracks for me. It's I'm not a huge fan of Millie Bobby Brown, but the rest of that cast is great. I liked the little tease that we saw of it. The director did 28 weeks later, which was not a bad movie as far as how it looked. So
what was your 27?
27. My 27 is a movie that in theory is coming out this year. It is finally actually filmed and made. It is the new version of The Crow.
I've never seen a single Crow movie, so I did not put this on my
The
list.
original Crow, 1993, I enjoyed very much. Brandon Lee, everybody knows about that one. They made a couple sequels to it, which I pretend don't exist, because they, from everything I've heard, were pretty horrible. They did like a syndicated TV show, which was even more horrible from what I hear. Again, didn't watch it. In the years since then, The Crow is supposedly being remade with everybody from Jason Momoa to Eminem to several other people that they at different times had different things
I
trying to go in
would
production.
love to see Eminem as the Crow.
That would have been interesting.
Perfect.
But there was several different versions of this, but this one is actually finally being made. It's being directed by Rupert Sanders, who did Snow White and the Huntsman, Ghost in the Shell. It is starring Bill Skarsgård, who's going to have a big year this year. He's got some more movies coming up on my list.
Yeah.
Nobody else really of note on here. There's Danny Houston's in there, but I like the story of The Crow. I like Bill Skarsgård. I'm glad this is finally getting made. It's like a real studio film and not just a straight to video kind of knockoff thing again this time. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'll watch it, but I have not watched a single Crow movie. And I'm sorry, the director, that doesn't sell me because I didn't like really any of those movies you mentioned. So, my next one is a movie that Brian has no interest in seeing because he didn't see the first two, so he won't see this one, and that is Paddington in Peru. The Paddington movies are way better than they have any fucking right to be. They should be bare bone kid fluff films, but Paddington has always surprised me and blown me away, and has always had some very surprise castings of just fun performances, like Hugh Grant in the sequel. This is just the third one. I love more Paddington in my life, so please bring it. New cast people that I see in this, I think I see Olivia Colman, and Antonio Banderas has been added to the new cast. So if they can bring any of the energy that I thought Nicole Kidman, she might have been in one of the previous ones. I'm trying to blank. I haven't watched the Paddingtons in a while. But if they can bring any of the energy that the previous big names that were brought into these can, Paddington's going to be awesome. It is. And Brian, maybe someday we'll finally watch these fucking movies, but he probably won't.
I have good news and bad news for you. It is coming out in the UK in November of 2024. In the US, it'll be January 2025. But technically, it's a 2024 movie, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
With 26 then. There are movies I didn't put on this list because I'm not convinced they're coming out. Like they're like Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, probably not coming out this year. There was
you and I in agreement took that off our list this year.
Yeah, there was originally Knives Out 3 was going to be planned for this year, but that's probably not coming out because they haven't even started filming or casting or anything yet. Quentin Tarantino's next movie is not coming out. Old Guard 2 is another one that maybe you have it on your list, but that's supposed to be coming out.
I keep forgetting that's a movie that's being made.
It has been filmed. It actually finished production like in late 2022, so it might come out this year, but I'm not sure, so I left it off. But at 26, I have a movie that has a chance of coming out, and that is Coyote versus Acme.
If I knew that we were actually going to get it, it would be on my list. I did not put it on my list because I haven't heard anything about it being saved.
It would probably be a bit higher if I was 100% sure it was coming out.
Top 15.
Obviously, this whole thing with Warner Brothers, who canceled the film and they were going to shelve it as a tax write-off, but then apparently they had a lot of interest from other places like Paramount Plus and Netflix and Amazon, who they held these screenings. WB actively held screenings for these other places to see if somebody wanted to buy it. And apparently they had some bids for it, but I haven't heard anything since then. So I don't know who's buying it. And if they do, they might hold on to it, not release till next year. I don't know. But if it comes out, it would be on my most anticipated list because, Wile E. Coyote, one of my two favorite Looney Tunes characters, the other one being Pepe Le Pew, who is canceled because he's a fucking cartoon. Whatever, people. But it's the whole idea of him basically suing Acme, and then he's got the lawyers played by his lawyers played by Will Forte. I think his opposing lawyers played by John Cena. It's just gonna be like a live action animation hybrid, and so I'm really anxious to see.
And there's been great word of mouth from people who have seen it already. So
the screens they had, people were saying it was great. Yeah,
they're saying it's the best movie since, or best cartoon live action movie since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But hey, let's not forget about Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, okay? Because that movie fucking was great. But yeah,
it's
so
only for Ugly Sonic.
This movie has had a journey on our channel because we have been bringing this up as like breaking news. We've been talking about this, and the new Scream movie have gotten more screen time on our channel than they have any right to be right now,
which is also very much not on our list.
Yes. To be TBD if that ever comes out. But yeah, if this movie had actually been confirmed, bought out by somebody like the Bike Riders, which did not make my list, even though it was on my list last year, I believe. Then yeah, it'd be on there. But until I hear that it's been signed and sold to somebody else, I'm just gonna, just keep imagining that it'll come out someday, maybe, or someone will accidentally release it, Ryan Reynolds from Deadpool, and then maybe we can watch it someday. My number 25 is a horror film that, on paper, this is probably not going to work, but the trailer really intrigued me, and I'm hoping it gives me that same vibe that the Boogeyman gave me, which was doesn't look special, but you know what? The movie actually was fucking efficient as shit, and that is Imaginary. Um, this I said, oh, it's an imaginary bear, or it's a demon attached to a stuffed bear. Um, like I said, on paper, this could either be good or really, really shitty. The trailer worked for me. It did. If you haven't seen it yet, watch the trailer. If you like these kind of movies, then you'll be into it. The big name on here that I see is DeWanda Wise, who we both think is a very solid actress. So you got a solid person on there who I know can act, and put her in a horror movie with a scary bear element and with like a demon attached to it. I'm all for this. Well, I'm hoping this is good.
Yeah, this didn't make my top list, but I'm kind of hopefully optimistic about it, cautiously optimistic, because horror movies especially have the most potential, I think, in most cases, to either be really good and be good surprises, like there's a bunch of them on my surprise list for the year, or to just be just another generic horror movie. So it's like I don't know which way this one's going to go.
Rarely are we ever disappointed by horror because we're already prepared to be disappointed. It's when they surprise us that we are like, yeah.
So I'm hopeful this one's good, but it wasn't high enough on my list to make my list.
Yeah.
25, probably not talking about Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Yeah, no, we are 100% talking about that later. Give me a break. My number 24, sticking to the same kind of story, is another imaginary film called If. Talk about it? Nope. I
just outside my list. Like it's like the first one outside my list.
Yeah. If was a trailer that got released last month as well. It's about If imaginary friend. It's basically about a girl who discovers that she can basically see everyone's imaginary friend and embarks on a magical adventure to reconnect forgotten ifs with their kids. Obviously, the main get here is that Ryan Reynolds is in this and John Krasinski is directing this, which I'll watch anything Krasinski directs because he's actually a really underrated director. Got us, gave us fucking Quiet Place, which we probably will be talking about later here on the episode. Whether if I definitely am, I'm sure Brian is too. You also got I believe it's Kaylee Fleming is the girl. I really liked her in almost said phone booth. Black Phone. She was the young girl in that. She was really great at it. Also, you got Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Louis Gossett Jr., Steve Carell, Matt Damon, Fiona Shaw, Bobby Moynihan, Emily Blunt, Vince Vaughn, Sam Rockwell, Maya Rudolph, Richard Jenkins, Christopher Maloney, Awkwafina, Jon Stewart. Clearly, these are all voices, but you know what? That is a fantastic cast. And Brian's main worry about this was that it looks like it's too family-friendly, too kiddie. But you know what? With Krasinski directing and with this cast, I'm all for it. So it is definitely going to be one of those. I'm hoping if it is kiddie, I'm hoping it gives us a Paddington vibe. I know I keep using Paddington, but Paddington is such a staple of being like a really good family film that just follow that moniker and just do it differently. And that's hopefully that's what If does. Now, if you add a little bit of Ryan Reynolds into that humor into it, then I'm there. See
what knowing about Krasinski and Reynolds and all these actors in it, I was really looking forward to this. Like this could be a really fun, funny movie. I thought it would be more of a comedy, and I'm sure it is a comedy. But once I saw the trailer, my expectations for it dropped dramatically, just for my personal interest in it, because of like the Paddington factor, because it does seem so family oriented. It almost seems like a live action Monsters Inc. kind of thing going on here, and it's not like
that either.
Yeah, but that's just it. I don't get as into family films much anymore. I think that's partially because I had kids and I had to watch thousands of horrible family films, and now they're kind of the age where they don't watch that crap anymore. So now I'm like, okay, I can take a break from this stuff.
Brian's free from the shackles of family genre,
and I do watch some here and there, and there are good ones that pop up. It's just stuff like this. It's probably a well-made movie, just not for me. One correction: Kaylee Fleming is not the one from Black Phone. The only thing she was in like Peppermint and some other stuff. She was also played young Rey in Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker. But other than that, she hasn't done
the main girl in it is from Black Phone.
I
could be wrong, but when I saw the trailer, my brain immediately went to Black Phone.
Yeah, no, because I looked at the Black Phone girl and she's not listed on this movie. But anyway, just a similar look to her, I guess.
Yeah.
Where am I at? 24?
Yeah, you're on 24.
24. It is another franchise film. This time directed by Fede Alvarez of
We're gonna be
Evil
talking
Dead
about it later.
fame. We'll talk about it later. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, we
Not
mentioned
very
it.
far. We're not very far away from it, but we're going to talk about it later. This one, I am almost guaranteeing we're going to be talking about this later because you're going to have this, I guarantee, in your top 10, if not top 5. It is a horror film coming around Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
Did you
I
leave this
forgot
off your
about it.
list?
I forgot about it because it wasn't listed.
Oh my God. This is a top fiver for you, I
Yeah.
would
No,
think.
go ahead. We'll talk about it later. I'm going to figure out where to slot it in. Something's getting bumped.
Okay. I was like, this has got, yeah, top. Okay. Well, I have to say what it is, which is
Yeah, go ahead.
Terrifier 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about it later. Oh my God, that makes me so happy that you fucked up. Because
I,
it's usually me.
I did because clearly that's going to be like
Oh yeah, I was like,
higher
we're
tier
not talking
film for
about this
me.
right now. We're gonna move on. Okay,
Yeah.
so do you want me to go to my 22, or can you do your 23 while still shuffling?
No, I'll go 23. It's
Okay.
gonna be a while from now, so I'll go ahead and
All
look at
right.
it later. My 23, I think you said you left off your list, and that is Red One.
I left it off my list because I mean I love the 3 leads, but I don't think this movie exists, even though they said it's coming out.
We've seen photos of them on set.
we see them standing around looking cool, but we have
This is
no
a
footage.
movie. This is Red One was directed by Jake Kasdan, who I believe did Jumanji films. That's him.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
along with Walk Hard and some other stuff. Starring, it's a Christmas action comedy thing. We don't really know the full details of the plot.
It's a Christmas action Netflix film.
Yeah, it's Dwayne Johnson, Chris Evans, J.K. Simmons, some other people like Bonnie Hunt, Nick Kroll, Lucy Liu. I mean, just based on Dwayne and Chris alone, they both are two of the most charismatic actors. They can both be tons of fun. They can both handle their action very well. They throw in J.K. Simmons, who I think is playing Santa Claus in this, and he's like super
Santa,
jacked.
and they got him ripped for it. Rock
Yeah,
worked with him and got him just
he-
like fucking jacked.
yeah, I got jacked for this, and I like both the Jumanji films the director did. So I'm curious to see this one. It was one that was supposed to, well, originally thought to be coming out this past year. I think because of the strikes and stuff, they kind of waited and waited and waited, and it got too late, and they said, "Okay, we're going to come out next year now."
Yeah,
So
I'm more kept this off my list out of personal pissed offery from basically going, really, you're gonna bump this a whole fucking year?
that's probably being a Christmas movie. They couldn't bump it to like March. They had to be like,
Yeah,
"Nope, you got to wait till
like,
next November, December." Yeah,
like screw you. You're not going on the list just by that principle alone. Just drop it in January. We can still celebrate Christmas in January. My number 22, we may be talking about later. I'd be shocked if this wasn't on your list. It's a film, it's a sequel to a film that we never needed a sequel for, but we're getting one. It's I believe, Best Picture winner. Gladiator 2.
we'll talk about a little
Okay.
later.
All right. Go ahead.
22 is a movie that I didn't hear about until I saw a trailer for it, and I found the trailer super intriguing. And that's a movie called ISS.
I have still not watched this trailer.
Yeah, it stands for International Space Station. Basically, the concept of it is that there's some people up on the International Space Station, some Americans and some Russians, just doing their thing. They're all getting along, and then they look down at Earth and they see just gigantic explosions. It turns out basically World War has broken out on Earth, and everyone's at war. And they're stuck up their space station, and at that point both their governments are telling them, you need to take over that station because we need to be in control of it. And so then it becomes this whole intrigue and battle of the two sides against each other. It stars Ariana DeBose, Chris Messina, Pilu Asbeck, who he was in Game of Thrones. He's also been in, I was Ghost in the Shell. He's done some other stuff though. You recognize from Game of Thrones if you watched that.
Wait. Wasn't he the villain in Hidden Strike?
I think he might have been. Yes.
Yeah, because he's the pirate guy in Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Yes. He was in Hidden Strike.
Yeah. But it's also got John Gallagher Jr., who I really love and everything he's done. So this cast has me super intrigued. Again, Ariana DeBose is another person who's going to have a huge year this year. She's got several movies coming out. And the concept of it was I found really intriguing. The trailer was very well done. And this one's coming out, I think, soon, like in late January, early February, something like that.
That's what I always find hilarious about Hollywood is it's like, oh man, we haven't seen this actor in forever. And so it's like, yeah, because they're shooting like 4 movies. Like, don't worry, wait till like the next year. All of a sudden, you're gonna get sick of them because Ariana
Well,
DeBose is like,
and
we
she's one
haven't
of those
seen
who
her.
half her stuff got bumped too. Like
Well,
Craven
yeah,
was
because
supposed
we
to come
haven't
out this
seen her
past
since
year.
West Side Story, where she won
Yeah.
the Oscar, and it's like, where the hell she been? It's like, oh no, she was shooting like 4 movies. They're coming out. They're all coming out in 2024. Trust me, you'll see plenty of her. My number 21, probably talk about later because I'd be very shocked if this wasn't on your list, and that is Furiosa of Mad Max Saga.
Oh, get comfortable on that one. We're gonna talk about that for a while.
Okay. Go ahead with your 21.
My 21 is another sequel to a movie that I really liked, but I don't hear a lot of people talk about, and that is Den of Thieves 2, Pantera is apparently the title of it.
I did not know they were making a sequel.
Yeah, Den of Thieves is basically a grittier version of Heat. It's very much the same kind of movie, but I was all for it. I think that the entire cast, top to bottom, did a great job. It took a little too many twists and turns at the end, but I was able to overlook that because I loved the style of it, I loved the direction of it, and I loved the cast, the dialogue, everything about it. Because it had heist elements, which I love. It had great action, like shootout scenes, which I love. It very much was, like I said, it's got Heat, but with a little bit more action and grit to it. This one's got Gerard Butler coming back, O'Shea Jackson Jr. is coming back. No other names of note, but yeah, this is one there's obviously no trailer. There's not even, I don't think, a plot for it yet, but just based on my love of the first movie, I'm interested in seeing this one.
Yeah, this was one that you had been trying to get me to watch for a while, and I think I finally watched it not last year.
I think for the Weekly Crusaders.
I think it was for Weekly, and I thought it was relatively solid. I like the cast in it because it's a bunch of people that you, outside of Gerard Butler, it's a lot of people that you don't really like. If you don't know Hollywood or movies like you and I do, you would not recognize these guys. But for us, we're like, oh, okay, I like these people. But yeah, it was very solid enough for me to be willing to be a sequel to see for it. So I mean, if I see a trailer for it, okay, I'll be interested. My number 20, you had already brought up. I said we were going to talk about it later, and that
Here's
is
our first one. We're going to talk about.
yeah, we're probably going to talk about one that we already pushed up. That is Borderlands. I play these games. These games are fun. I don't know how the movie's gonna work because this is one of those games where it's like I don't see. But then again, we didn't think Twisted Metal was gonna work, and that was one of our surprise hits. Yes, so Borderlands is a lot like that, but like shoot 'em up without the cars. I mean, there are cars in it, but it's not car centric like Twisted Metal is. So I think Borderlands would work great as a show. Okay, let's put it this way, Brian, because you don't play Borderlands. Borderlands would be like Fallout meets Twisted Metal with comedy and just absolute craziness because it's like a dystopian future, and there's like a vault with treasure in it. And there's like vault hunters, and they're all and there's like a talking robot called Claptrap, which I think is what Jack Black or someone's playing in it. But yeah, on paper, I don't know how this movie's gonna work. But then you see the cast, and you're like, Kate Blanchett's in this?
Yeah, she's the lead of this movie.
Do I have to take this seriously now? Because I see Borderlands on the side. I'm like, okay, this is probably gonna be zany, stupid. But then it's like you see Blanchett, you're like, I don't know what to
I believe. I mean, just from what I've seen of like the costumes and the stuff like that,
yeah.
I think it is still going to be like kind of zany fun. I think Kate Blanchett is one of those actresses who she does a lot of serious stuff, but she does sometimes just like to sink her teeth into a fun movie. I mean, she did Indiana Jones for Christ's sake.
True. But yeah, this cast is something, and so I love these games. I've played many hours of these games, so I have no idea. I'm so intrigued by this. I am not expecting to love it, but damn it, I will be there night one to see this film.
I am surprised that you aren't held back by the director, though.
Yes, I am not a fan of the director, but I am a fan.
But this isn't his typical kind of movie, though, so it's hard to say.
Exactly. I mean, he won us over with, I have
Eli Roth, by the way.
Yeah, it's Eli Roth. He won a lot of people over with Thanksgiving. So as long as he has that Thanksgiving vibe where it's the least Eli Roth of Eli Roth movies, but here's the thing. The reason why I don't like Eli Roth films outside of he did torture porn is that he had really shitty performers in his movies, just really bad acting. And his direction wasn't really doing anything to make the performances better. He's got an actual really fucking good cast here. And that's the part where I think whether it's Eli Roth or not, this cast can maybe make it work. So you got the game element, you got this cast, and you got Eli Roth. It could be great, or it could just be literally dog shit and one of the most disappointing films of the year based off of what it is. Untapped potential is what this movie could be. It could either rise to it and be great, or it could just be, wow, this is one of the biggest missed opportunities you could have had. So I'm intrigued to see what happens with it. What is your number 20?
My number 20 is a movie called Hitman. This is directed by Richard Linklater, who, from Dazed and Confused, the Before trilogy, things like that. This is not really his kind of usual movie. It's a cop working undercover as the most in-demand hitman in Houston, breaks protocol in order to help a desperate woman escape her abusive boyfriend. So it sounds like kind of an action crime drama kind of thing, but from Richard Linklater. But what has me interested in this is purely the star of it, and that is our friend Glenn Powell, who we have been championing on this channel forever. This is a movie that played at I don't know if it's Sundance or some of those film festivals and got rave reviews. I think on Letterboxd it's already got a 4-star average. So all the reviews coming out are very good for it. But I'm just for Glenn Powell alone getting to be the single lead in this movie. He's kind of worked, so he's done a lot of supporting roles. They did Anyone But You, which is kind of a co-lead. This is kind of riding completely on him. I mean, it has some other people in it. The only real name is Adria Arjona, who is a good actress who does a lot of bad movies, like Morbius, like Pacific Rim Uprising, things like that. But she's also in Belko Experiment, Triple Frontiers. She's done some good stuff. But I like her, so I'm glad she gets to make a good movie for once. But yeah, this is purely because of Glenn Powell.
I feel like I've heard about this, but I just forgot about it. It fell through the cracks, like you say. Yeah, Glenn Powell. Of course, I'm there. And it's an action movie. I'm also there for that with Glenn Powell. Here's hoping it's good and he can ride the wave for it. Because Anyone But You is not going to do that for him, sadly. My number 19, we may be talking about later. And that is a sequel to a film from the 80s that is beloved by many, and that is Beetlejuice 2.
Let's talk about it now.
You can talk about it now? All right, what is it on yours? Because it doesn't seem like it's going to be your 19.
Well, I actually
Or is that what you're bumping for Terrifier 3?
I currently had it at 19, and I was thinking about it, but the thing is, I'm looking for something to bump out for Terrifier 3. It's actually be higher than this, but I got to bump everything else down. But yeah, it's about my 19 anyway too. So go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is one of those movies that came out. I was too young to get the jokes, but I still thought it was fun. And then as I got older, I understood the jokes and stuff a lot more. So I appreciated it more as I grew older with it. But I mean, you got all the cast. I mean, you got Michael Keaton, Catherine Keener, you got Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, and the rest of the people in it. You're bringing back, if not almost everybody, to this, including Winona Ryder. And then you're also adding Jenna Ortega. I love that Michael Keaton hasn't gotten too big to not just say, hey, let's go back and do the shit that I'm known for and let's have fucking fun. He came back to do Batman and The Flash, and now he's like, hey, let's do Beetlejuice. Next year we'll have Multiplicity Part 2. It's or Mr. Mom Part 2. Which now that wouldn't even work today because I can't a man be at home? That doesn't work. But Beetlejuice 2, I don't know if it's gonna be good, but I gotta see what Michael Keaton does with it.
Yeah, this is I had it at 19. We're gonna call it just here. We're gonna say it's not on my list because I'm gonna bump everything else down above it. So, but I'm glad we get to talk about it now anyway, because I liked the original Beetlejuice when it came out. I thought it was hilarious. Michael Keaton was awesome. Tim Burton, it was the only thing he'd done before this was Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I mean, as far as feature films.
Yeah.
And it was a kind of a fresh new director, and there's kind of a new sense of humor, a new style to him. And this is before he did Batman. For years, they talked about making a sequel. For decades now, they talked about making a sequel. At one point, Tim Burton had a script called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian or something like that. And I don't know what that movie would have been, but yeah, I can't imagine it would have been good. So it's one of those movies you thought is never getting made. It's one that they always talk about. It's never getting made. And then it turns out they did. And I'm again, Michael Keaton is kind of making a comeback, and I'm all for that because we love Michael Keaton. I'm sure he still has. I'm sure he can still. I'd love to see him do the wild, comedy side of his personality in Beetlejuice, which he hasn't gotten to kind of let loose like that in a long time. Yeah, Winona Ryder coming back, who I like. Yeah, Jenna Ortega in. That's a good plus to it. So whereas for years I was kind of like, I don't really care about Beetlejuice anymore. Now I'm intrigued again. I want to see this movie.
This is also one of those movies, and this always annoyed the fuck out of me. Because you and I were the movie guys. So we have friends who are not movie people, but they like movies, but they're not like us, who will always send you something going, "Is this real?" And it'll always be a fucking poster of Beetlejuice 2. And I'd be like, "No, this is fake." Or, "There's a Beetlejuice 2 trailer out." I'm like, "Did you not watch the trailer? That's from this movie.
Yeah, it's
That's
made up of
from
clips
this
from other
movie.
movies. Yeah.
That's from this. Come on, you can't be this gullible." And it was always fucking Beetlejuice. It's like one of 5 movies, and 90% of the time they send it to me, it's Beetlejuice 2. And now they send it to me, and I go, "Yeah, that's actually gonna be a thing." I don't have to deal with that shit anymore. But yeah, it's I'm intrigued to see what they do with it.
Okay.
So
So my new number
you have
19.
another. Yeah, okay. So yeah, go ahead.
We're just gonna pretend Beetlejuice 2 isn't on my list because we got to talk about it with yours. So my new number 19 is Argyle.
Talk about that later.
Okay.
Okay. My number 18, you brought up already, and I cut you off before you even said the title, so my bad. Yeah, it's directed by, say his name again.
Fede Alvarez.
Ferreras, who did Evil Dead, not Evil Dead Rise, but Evil Dead, which I really, really liked. And that is Alien.
And Don't Breathe.
And what?
Don't Breathe.
Oh yes, Don't Breathe. And that movie is Alien Romulus. It was originally supposed to be Hulu. Now it sounds like they might be going to theaters with this instead of Hulu. But Brian and I love, for better or worse, we love the Alien franchise and Predator. So you give it, and after Prey worked great, we got excited when we heard Alien was coming out with a Hulu movie as well, because it's like, well, if Prey can do it, or if Predator can do it, then Alien can do it. And this is supposed to take place between the first 2 films. So between Alien and Alien, so we at least know that it's not fucking Prometheus territory. It's going to stay within the xenomorph life and all that kind of stuff. Cast wise, no one of note's really standing out. I mean, I'm sure if I click on them and I look at their face, I'm like, oh, that person. But at least
Kaylee Spaney was in Bad Times at El Royale and Pacific Rim Uprising, and then Isabella Merced, she was formerly known as Isabella. I would shoot by before. Monaire.
Oh, her, yeah.
From Instant Family and
Dora the Explorer and Transformers. Yeah, okay, I love her. Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's great. So yes, okay. Now I know people that I know that's in this movie. But yeah, it's Aliens. Of course, I'm gonna be all for this. But yeah.
My only hesitance on this movie, because I'm really looking forward to this movie, because like you said, I always look forward to new Aliens or Predator movie, even if they don't always turn out to be great. I usually enjoy them all to some extent. Mm-hmm. I'm always optimistic they're gonna kind of get back on track with really great ones. I don't know if this will be a really great one, but it'll be worth watching. But like I said, my only thing that holds me back from this is I hope that they were still given a full feature film budget and not like a Hulu movie budget.
But see, that I'm fine with that, because you got Alvarez doing this, and you saw what he did with Evil Dead. Yeah. So as long as the xenomorphs look good, I want his brand of horror and gore with the xenomorphs. And
yeah, he's the one thing that has me probably most optimistic about it, is the fact that he is directing it.
That's why I'm okay with it just being Hulu, because give him that budget. This guy can fucking make that work. I'm hopeful.
Hopeful.
Yes.
All right. My number 18, you mentioned earlier, and that is Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
I
will say this. Have you seen the latest pics of Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Gyllenhaal is one of those guys who, when he commits to a role, he really commits to a role. Whether it be to look all, frail and creepy and greasy like a Nightcrawler, all the way up to doing something like this where he's ripped. I mean, he plays a former UFC, or at least MMA fighter. I'm not sure if it's UFC or not.
It's UFC because they actually shot.
They filmed it at a UFC event. They filmed some scenes. So he's a former UFC fighter, and he looks the part. He's completely jacked. He looks great in the role. Who's now takes a job as a bouncer in a roadhouse, hence the title. This one is relocating them to Florida, I believe, the Florida Keys. I've seen the original movie a couple times. I watched it recently.
I have never watched
I
Roadhouse.
rewatched it like late last year. It's not a great film. It's one of those things like it definitely has that 80s feel to it. It's kind of a nostalgic thing, but it was just a dumb 80s kind of action film with a lot of one-liners to it, things like that. Patrick Swayze, so you know what you're getting going into that movie. But I enjoyed it for what it was. This one, I don't know the tone they're going to go for this one because it's Doug Liman, who's done everything from Go to Mr. and Mrs. Smith to the Firstborn film. He's got a very strange resume to him, so I don't know exactly what his approach is going to be to it. Jake Gyllenhaal is the main appeal to it. Billy Magnuson, who I know we like, Daniela Melchior, who we know from the Suicide Squad, and she has a small role in Guardians 3. That's what I was thinking of.
She was also in Fast X.
Oh, that's the other one I was thinking of. Fast X, yeah. And it's got
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor's going to be in there. I assume in probably a smaller role. I think he's probably
there at the UFC. He's probably in the UFC aspect of it.
Well, that or there's the end towards the end of Road. There's like the main villain's like number one henchman, for lack of a better word, is Lackey, who like is the one who's kind of he's going to be the main villain that the hero will go fight towards the end. I think that might be his role in this movie.
And he's got the charisma to pull it off. So I mean,
you're gonna have some cool You can have some cool fight scenes to this movie. You got Jake Gyllenhaal, who always commits 100% to his roles, and Doug Liman, who's a director I really like. So, looking forward to this one. And this is one, unfortunately, though, going straight to Amazon.
Fine, I don't care. I'm excited for it.
Oh, I almost forgot that Doug Liman did Edge of Tomorrow. Holy cow!
That's what I said. I was like, I'm excited for this because of who's directing this movie.
Yeah,
it's got to at least be good or average at best. It's not. I would hope. I'd be really upset if this sucked.
Well, he also made Chaos Walking, so
I never saw that, so I can't.
It wasn't terrible. It was just
that one was a production disaster. So it's kind of a mix of a bunch of stuff. My next movie, I am positive we are talking about later. If this one fell through the cracks, then Terrifier 3 I'd let pass. This one, if it's not on your list higher, then I'm like, what the hell happened to you? And that is Bad Boys 4.
Is that coming out next year?
It's supposed to.
Oh, well, I'm screwed again.
Wow.
I know, yeah, because I know they're filming it. I don't know how I did this.
Brian. Bad Boys 4. The one like cop movie that Brian and I love that all of our old movie friends gave us shit for because they said we were basically fucking swines for loving this movie as much as we did.
How did I miss this? Okay, we're going to talk about this later. We'll talk about this later.
Are we going to do this again? We're going to pass.
We're going to do this again. We're going to do it again.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
We're doing it live.
All right. So what's your 17?
Man, this is really messing me up. Because it's hard to, I can't just like kick something else out.
Brian's doing 37 movies instead of 35. And
because I can't just kick out like my number 10 movie.
And he gave me shit because he only wanted to do 20. And I go, no, I got 35. He goes, is that a little much? I go, but there's a lot of movies this year. And now he's got even more than I do.
Well, that's just it. Like I have a lot of movies like you haven't heard of, which is not uncommon. But it's like, I don't know how these big ones, when I was making my list, how I didn't see it on the, like,
I don't know, because Bad Boys 4 is like on the first two rows of Letterboxd's 2024. So I don't know how you missed that. What's your 17/18?
My 17/18 is a movie I was on my most anticipated last year, but it never technically had a date for 2023, and that is a movie called Boy Kills World. I
remember you talking about this.
The second entry this year from Bill Skarsgård. Also stars Jessica Roth, who is from the Happy Death Day movies. She had a small part in La La Land. She kind of disappeared after she broke out in the Happy Death Day movies, so I'm glad she come back in this.
It's not like married or something. I think she's yeah.
But it's got Bill Skarsgård, Jessica Roth, Yayan Ruhian, who you don't know the name, but he is like the main bad guy in like The Raid. He's also in The Raid 2. He was in Force Awakens as a small part. But if you've seen like The Raid, you recognize this guy. He's a tiny dude, but he's martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing. I love this guy. Andrew Koji, who's also another guy who was in the Raid movies. He's in there. But this is a movie, I don't know a lot about this movie. Also has Charlotte Copley, Famke Janssen, some other people in it. It says a one-of-a-kind action spectacle set in dystopian fever dream reality. Boy is a deaf mute with a vibrant imagination. When his family is murdered, Boy escapes to the jungle and is trained by the mysterious shaman to repress his childish imagination and become an instrument of death. It's a weird plot. I hate the fact that he's named Boy. I don't understand that, but maybe I'll understand when I see the movie. But if you've seen pictures from this one, Bill Skarsgård also got jacked. So I'm curious to see what this is going to look like.
If this can be anything like just like a combination between like Guns Akimbo and Boss Level, I will be like all about this movie. But yeah, I remember you talking about this. I haven't seen anything for it, so that's why this one just.
I always just see the one. There's the one still photo they've released of it. It's got him all bloodied up but super buff, and it's got Jessica Rothe next to him. She's all bloodied up too, and just it looks good.
My number 16, we might be talking about later because
unless I left it off.
Yeah, I was like, unless you left this one off, which I was like, dude, if I was a betting man, I'd be losing shitloads of money on Brian's Anticipated. But this is a prequel to two movies that we enjoy, and that is A Quiet Place Day One.
Later.
Okay. So what's your 16/17?
We'll get back on track here. So my 17. Let's call it my 17. And then I'll do 16 after that. How's that?
Okay.
So 17 is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Talk about that later.
Okay. At 16, I have Kraven the Hunter.
Talk about that later.
Okay.
We caught up real fast.
You caught up.
All right. My number 15, you have already brought up, and that is Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Yeah, this is one of those that I had very low on my list. This is kind of what swapped with Lord of the Rings. Is once I found out about Lord of the Rings, and then I found out about Nosferatu, they basically kind of went around. I think anyone who knows horror or knows vampire movies, everyone knows who Nosferatu is. Whether you watch the movie or not, you at least know who Nosferatu is. But director's Robert Eggers. I didn't was The Witch. It was The Witch, right? Yeah, I didn't watch The Witch. I think I tried to, and I just couldn't.
I watched it. Was not impressed by it.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed The Lighthouse, and we both liked The Northman.
Yeah, I was surprised. I went into the Northman expecting to dislike it. I really enjoyed that movie.
But yeah, with this, you've got the gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infatuated with her, causing an untold horror in its wake. Bill Skarsgård again. I think he plays Feratu, doesn't he? Doesn't he play Nosferatu? You got Lily Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, who's in another vampire movie after Renfield. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yes, more shit for him. And Willem Dafoe. Which, once again, staying there with Robert Eggers, he won. Didn't he win for Lighthouse? Or get nominated for Lighthouse, at least?
I think he only got nominated for Lighthouse.
And didn't he also play Nosferatu in a previous film?
He played the actor playing Nosferatu, Max Schreck, in Shadow of the Vampire.
Yeah, so
he played the guy who was the actor who was kind of getting too much into the role, so he's kind of thought he was becoming Nosferatu.
Yeah. So this subject with Robert Eggers and at least the cast that we got right now, I'm actually generally excited for this. Now, whether or not he's going to go black and white with this or color, I honestly think knowing Eggers, he'd probably do the Lighthouse approach and go black and white with it. I'm not sure. But
the only still frames we've seen from it have all been black and white, so I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this. Did you have any thoughts to it? Because I know you mentioned this earlier.
No, I kind of already said I kind of was surprised how much I did enjoy The Northman. And again, the cast. I mean, I like Bill Skarsgård and those people, but really, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I want to see him get more stuff. So I'm glad to see
Aaron Taylor Johnson. It's like Aaron Taylor Johnson, Zac Efron, and Glenn Powell are like this, and Ben Foster, where it's like get up, just raise up higher for us, guys.
Speaking of, I already said Kraven the Hunter. Okay, 15. Let's talk about Terrifier 3 now.
Oh, 50, I thought you were gonna do top 5.
Well, it's not top 5 material because Terrifier 2. I like Terrifier 2. That is a gore fest. Like
Terrifier 2. You watched Terrifier 2 like 4 times in a week, bro.
because I wanted to like watch it with other people and watch their reaction to it.
That's a 3-hour movie, and you watched it 4 times in
It's
a
not
week.
quite 3 hours. It's like 2:20 or something, 2.5.
It's like, it's a long ass movie.
It is a long way. It's an overly long movie, and I've admitted that up front. It is 2 hours and 18 minutes is all actually, by the way. So Terrifier 3, all we really know about this is that it is taking place at Christmas time this time, which is a whole nother, because the last one took place at Halloween and they had a lot of fun being able to use that kind of that backdrop to it. This one, I can just think of all the fun they're going to have with this one and all the cool creative kills they'll have with this one.
Just the poster alone.
I expect them to crank up the gore even farther this time, which is really saying something because they're going to have a much bigger budget this time they had previously. So they'll have a lot of fun with it. The lead in it is the same girl, Lauren Lavera, who I thought she did a great job in the last movie.
We both liked her in
Yeah.
too.
I don't know anything about this movie. I don't know where the plot's going to go. It could end up being stupid and ridiculous, but I'm looking forward to it, if nothing else, just because it'll be a spectacle and a fun horror movie to watch.
I almost wish that they pretend that the post-credit scene or after-credit scene never happened, because that was so fucking stupid.
That was stupid, but Chris Jericho's listed in the cast this one, so I guess they're embracing that.
And Jericho was in that credit scene.
Yeah.
Damn it. I didn't care. Brian made me care about these fucking films. And I hate this. I kind of hate Brian for that, because under normal circumstances, these movies are garbage. But you know what? I can't wait to see this one, especially with the Christmas aesthetic. This movie is going to be probably incredibly rough to watch, like the second one was, but worse because, like you said, the bigger budget. But you know what? I'm here for the crazy ass chaos, and part of me almost wishes it happens just like it did with 2, where it's not released in theaters everywhere, and so you and I can do a watch along again for that. Because I feel like I will enjoy it more watching it with you than I would be watching it on my own. But yeah, oh man, that movie's gonna, yeah, like I said, just thinking of the sick things like my head's thinking about. I can only think about what they're thinking of, and then they will actually shoot that shit. Yeah, that's gonna be nuts. Number 14 for me is a movie that, under normal circumstances, would be so much higher, but a movie came out last year that makes this one look very corny and not good by comparison. And that was my number 1 movie of the year. This is the American version. Doesn't look nearly as good. And that is Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Talk about that a little bit later.
Oh, wow. See, you, yeah, I was shocked. I knew you'd have it on the list. I didn't think you'd be that far higher than me. All right.
It's not much higher.
All right. Go with your 14.
14, Gladiator 2.
All right.
Talk about that now?
Well, yeah, I brought it up earlier.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. I lost track at this point.
Yeah. Well, it's because your list has changed so much times during this list.
I love the first Gladiator. I think Gladiator, the first one, is a 5-star movie. It's great. I remember I got to see that actually at a advanced showing of it, like a couple months before it came out. And I'm like telling everybody, this movie's gonna be awesome. I swear, you guys, this is gonna win all the Oscars and everything. And sure enough, it won a bunch of them.
I still fucking quote Gladiator to this day.
Yeah, it is. I think probably Ridley Scott's best film still to this day.
I would agree with that too.
And it's one of those things like, well, how are they gonna make a sequel of it? Well, because they're gonna make a sequel without Russell Crowe. They're not gonna try and have the same Gladiator. On the plus side, you have people like Denzel Washington are in this movie. Pedro Pascal's in this movie. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things is in this movie. Some other people. The main star of it, Paul Mescal, who I keep hearing about, but I don't even know if I've actually seen this person.
I have not seen a single movie this guy's in.
I have not seen what he's in. I don't see what the big deal is about him. But then again, like I said, I haven't seen the stuff he's done because he just hasn't made the kind of movies that interest me. Maybe he's great. Ridley Scott cast him as the lead in this movie, so hopefully he is. The one thing that concerns me, the reason this would actually be higher on my list, except that it's Ridley Scott, because Ridley Scott has made great films, including the first Gladiator. Ridley Scott has not made a great film in a long time, honestly. And of course, this year's Napoleon, I didn't even bother seeing. I'll watch it eventually, but I didn't rush out and see because I didn't hear anything good about it.
I will say this because I did the review for it already. On a technical level, it's flawless, which means that Gladiator will look amazing. sound quality will be pristine. Everything about the movie that makes it a movie, it will be top notch. It's the story and the acting, which I think based off the cast, acting will be fine. So it's the script and basically the plot that is what it'll be. That's what it'll kill or bring Gladiator 2 back to its previous standard.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, because Ridley Scott, I mean, he started off his career with things like Alien and Blade Runner. Then he had a run where he did like Gladiator and Black Hawk Down and American Gangster and a couple of movies in the 2000s. But really, since the 2000s, he's been super hit and miss. I enjoyed The Martian, I enjoyed The Last Duel, but he hasn't made a great movie in such a long time. So he's actually the one thing keeping me a little bit reserved on my expectations for this.
Yeah, I love Gladiator, so I'm excited for this, even with Ridley Scott. Like I honestly, if it wasn't Ridley Scott though, I would be worried.
No, I wouldn't want someone else to direct it. I'm worried that this is not going to be. It's not going to live up to what it could have been.
It's like getting a Zemeckis film now. It's like, oh, Zemeckis, but it's like, but which Zemeckis are we getting? Are we getting 80s Zemeckis, or are we getting current Zemeckis?
Yeah.
My number 13 is one that you brought up already. It's an animated film, Transformers 1.
Oh, this one. Okay.
I love Bumblebee. Transformers Rise of the Beast was one of my surprising films of the year this year. Now, this is animated, but you know what? It's animated, and it's doing exactly the thing that we want to see, which is a story of how a young Optimus Prime and Megatron went from being brothers in arms to sworn enemies. We're getting the War of Cybertron finally in this, and we're getting a great cast. At least this is just 6 names, and there's going to be more because it's animated. Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. That one's going to be intriguing. How is he going to get the rollout voice going? I don't know. Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, Keegan-Michael Key, who I think is Megatron or Brian
Bumblebee.
Terry. Oh, he's Bumblebee.
Brian Tyree
Megatron,
Henry is
Brian
Megatron.
Tyree Henry.
Yeah.
John Hamm is Sentinel Prime, and Lawrence Fishburne is Alpha Trion. Yeah. But yes, I am excited as hell for this. And this is by the director who did Toy Story 4, which I seem to be the one person here who defends that fucking movie as a really good film. But yeah, he's relatively new because Toy Story 4 was his first real big film. He also did like one of those like Pixar shorts for Inside Out.
Shorts,
yeah. But I'm excited for this. The only thing that we don't know about it yet is what the animation's going to look like. But
that's the big key for me. That's the only reason. If I had seen like a single frame from it, it could shoot up my list. But I kept it down low because I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, with the cast and the subject matter, this is the Transformers movie we've been waiting for. We wish it would be live action, but you know what? I'll take animated.
Yeah. Where are we at? 13. Is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Yes. This is a Guy Ritchie movie who Sean loves.
Okay, because there's another name that's close to it. I was like, wait, that's not the. All right, go ahead.
This is what I used to get mixed up with in the yearly previews with Argyle from Matthew Vaughn. Okay. This is from Guy Ritchie, who Sean generally hates, but he loved his last movie, Covenant.
He won me with Covenant.
This takes place in 1940. Winston Churchill and Ian Fleming form a clandestine combat organization for Britain's military that changes the course of World War II and prefigures the modern Black Ops unit through its unconventional and entirely ungentlemanly fighting techniques against the Nazis. It sounds kind of the anti-Kingsman because they're kind of going the opposite. They're going more gritty warfare. They're kind of getting away from the gentlemanly warfare. But I've heard nothing but good things from people who have seen things behind the scenes. You're casting as Henry Cavill, Isaac Gonzalez, who I love, Alan Ritchson from Reacher, Henry Golding, Carrie Elways, Alex Pettyfer, some other people. But this is a movie that based on the cast, and I like the concept of it. And Guy Ritchie, I think, can have a lot of fun with it. I don't hate Guy Ritchie. I don't love him either. I kind of take him on a film by film basis. But this sounds like a fun concept, and I love the cast because my favorite cast are the people who aren't necessarily like the A-list actors. It's like a lot of people who are kind of like that level where they aren't quite the superstars yet, like the Henry Cavill, who's kind of almost there, especially Alan Ritchson, who I'm really rooting for to have him have a great career, and of course Isaac Gonzalez.
A lot of this will be depending on how Guy Ritchie shoots this movie and how Guy Ritchie goes full Guy Ritchie or not.
Yeah.
Because that's my problem is how Guy Ritchie shoots his films. I have no problem with the cast in any of his movies or even the dialogue. I just can't stand how Guy Ritchie directs his films and shoots his movies.
I
Um,
feel like, I mean, I have nothing to go by, but just my prediction. I feel like this is going to be a lot like the Kingsman movies in that way.
which, you know what? We'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Guy Ritchie, yeah. My number 12 is one that you just brought up a little bit ago, and that is Craven the Hunter. This was supposed to come out last year. We were actually mildly excited for this one because it's rated R, and that first trailer looked brutal. But we were like, we want this to succeed so badly because of Aaron Taylor Johnson. He deserves a fucking win. Granted, he was great in Bullet Train, but he was still like a side character in Bullet Train. Yeah, Spider-Man movies that don't have Spider-Man in it haven't been that great. Don't talk to me about Venom. Both Venom movies are dog shit, and people just keep watching those for some reason.
Wait, Venom 3 isn't in your top 10 for the year?
What's that?
Venom 3 isn't going to be in your top 10?
Fuck no. Madam Web is not even on this list. Morbius is fucking trash, and Madam Web just looks bad. But Craven the Hunter looks good, and it's because of Aaron Taylor Johnson. I don't think there's a movie on my list this year that has such a big question mark on it that I am championing more to succeed than this because of Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yeah, it was 16 on my list, and it's the kind of thing where, because of the cast, Aaron Taylor Johnson, again, Ariana DeBose, another movie of hers this year. Russell Crowe is playing Aaron Taylor's dad, I believe.
I think, yeah, it's dad.
And so I'm really looking forward to this movie. I hope that because I think the character is interesting, their take on the character is interesting. I just hope they keep it completely separate. Don't try to tie it into Spider-Man at all. Just let this be a movie about this comic book character, and don't try to tie it into the Spider-Verse.
No post-credit scene where they see Spider-Man on the TV, and then
because their post-credit scenes have been so good up to this point.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, they have.
I just hope that they've heard all the criticism and taken it out, especially because Madam Web, I assume, is going to flop. I hope they don't take it out on this one, because
that's my worry, is that Madam Web's going to bomb, and we're not going to go see Craven the Hunter if it's anything like Madam Web, and then it's going to have to be good enough it's a strong enough word of mouth that people will go to it in spite of.
Well, Madam Web looks very Spider-Man. Craven, I think that, except for like people who are real comic fans, I bet most people don't realize he's connected to Spider-Man in any way. So hopefully
this needs to be the people who appreciate Kick-Ass, that want to see a grown-up Aaron Taylor Johnson Kick-Ass legitimately. That these are those people that need to go to it. What is your 12?
12 is where I decided to slot in Bad Boys, Ride or Die.
All right.
I love the Bad Boys films, all three of them to different extents. The third one, obviously, it wasn't directed by Michael Bay, but it was done by two guys, Arby and Falah, who I thought they were able to kind of copy Michael Bay's style to keep it so it felt like the same story, the same universe, but they added kind of a little bit of their own flair to it, and I thought they did a great job. Unfortunately, they got screwed over with their Batgirl movie, which ended up getting canned, supposedly for good reason. But everyone who was involved in it said it wasn't really their fault. They did what they could with what they had. So I'm glad to see they brought them back to do this movie as well. I love this franchise. They're going to keep in I forget what they call the team with Alexander Ludwig and Vanessa Hudgens and them. They're going to be in this one as well. Will Smith, of course, he's had his issues, but so I think it's smart of him to go back to a franchise that people love him in, to kind of maybe try and start rebuilding his reputation. But Sean and I don't care about stuff outside of the movies. We're just going to watch the movies for what they are. The reason it's as low as it is Martin Lawrence. In that movie, I literally looked up after I saw Bad Boys 3 and said, did Martin Lawrence have a stroke at some point? Because he doesn't seem like he's all there. He seems like he's a little bit slow. He seems like he's not quite, he always has a glazed over look in his eyes. And I'm just worried that a couple of years later now, since Bad Boys 3, that he may have gotten even worse. And I want to
I don't think I've seen him in anything since Bad Boys 3.
No, he doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it made number 12 on my list, but honestly, if I knew that both of them were still in their prime, if Will and Martin both still had it, which Will pretty much was still playing as good as he ever did.
Yeah, Will's not the worry. Will's fine.
This would be top 10, maybe even top 5 for me if everybody's in the prime. But Martin Lawrence has me worried.
Yeah, I enjoy. I remember the first film because it came out in 1995. It was my birthday movie because it came out on my birthday. So I love the first one. The second one is everything that you would want in a Fast and Furious movie, but it's not as good. Bad Boys 2 is so bad that I love it profusely for all its craziness.
Bad.
No, like there's stupid shit in it, but we love the stupid shit.
Okay.
And we quote it and we embrace it. Like whereas like if it was another movie doing it, we'd be like, that's so fucking dumb. But it's like it's Bad Boys. We're like, give us more. Bad Boys 3 didn't really work for me. I didn't like hate it, but it was just like, it doesn't have to me, it didn't feel like it had the same energy. And it was probably because of Martin Lawrence. That and you kind of knocked Will Smith out of the movie for a little bit for the storyline, and I was like, why? You should have done that with Martin Lawrence, not Will. Like, if anyone, take out Martin, don't do the Will. But yeah, I'm also good. It's Bad Boys, Bad Boys for life, man. You gotta watch it. I do wish that they at some point they would. You know what I want? I want them to bring Jessica Alba and Gabrielle Union into this because we already know that their show got canceled, but bring LA's Finest into this. And because, yeah, just bring them in. I want to see them in this. I hope they do. My number 11, you already brought up, and that is Argyle. This movie just looks fun. I'm sorry. Anything Matthew Vaughn, I just immediately am already like sold. If you get any of the Matthew Reeves or Matthew Vaughn, I'm pretty much sold on it because they have done enough already that anything they come out with, I'm there. Argyle, first off, you got Sam Rockwell, who I love. You got Cavill. The whole cast of this movie, I think Cena's in this as well. It looks fun. I thought the trailer looked funny. A little bummed about the cat. I think I'm afraid I don't want them to overdo the cat jokes, but
He's still front and center in the marketing, so I'm a little worried about the cat.
It is. That's the thing I'm worried about. But from what I've seen, this looks like it could be a fun. I would say a little more, not necessarily extreme, but a little more Kingsman-y version of Night and Day to a point. But with the cast involved and Matthew Vaughn at the helm, I'm actually excited for this one.
Yeah, Night and Day is very much the same vibe I got from this thing as well, from the trailers and stuff. Matthew Vaughn, I don't love his stuff as much as a lot of other people, but I do. He's kind of somebody I really love, but all of them are usually at least pretty good. So I do enjoy his stuff. The cast, like you said, you mentioned Henry Cavill and Sam Rockwell. We got Bryce Dallas Howard, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara, Ariana DeBose again, John Cena, Samuel L. Jackson, Sophia Boutella. It's got a great cast. The downside for me is Henry Cavill's haircut. Don't know what's up with that.
I'm not gonna let a haircut ruin a movie for me.
But I know. I watched that.
Took down.
There has to be some explanation for it in the movie, but it's like this just looks ridiculous to me.
We're not gonna let Henry Cavill's facial hair or hair dictate how a movie fucking runs anymore. Okay, God, you already ruined one.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Like I said, I was in my teens somewhere as well.
All right. What was your 11?
My 11 is Godzilla vs. Kong: The New Empire.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm sorry, Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Godzilla vs. Kong, I really enjoyed. I'm Team Kong, of course, but I do enjoy Godzilla in this movie as well. I think that it's my favorite incarnation of Godzilla. Was in the last movie. I know Sean will fight me on that, same with the new Godzilla Minus Zero, which I did enjoy very much, but I kind of like this one a little better for my personal tastes. This one, you gotta kind of feel if they're like teaming up against this other, the Scar King, I think he's called, this other, some kind of ape creature, ape titan. You got a lot of the cast returning from previous films, including Rebecca Hall, who is Sean's favorite actress in Hollywood right now. Brian Tyree Henry, Dan Stevens, they've added to this one, which is probably the best addition, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And the trailer, you still don't know a whole lot about the story of it, but just it looked nice and action packed. Sean is latching on to this whole thing with he's got pink colors instead of blue. which apparently that's kind of an explanation for that in the movie, but he thinks it's just because of Barbie.
It was a joke, but I'm not gonna not let this die. They Barbified Godzilla. I'm sorry. He
But
did.
yeah, but no, I was surprised how much I enjoyed Godzilla vs Kong. So this is the kind of movie that I love going to the theater to watch on a the biggest screen I can
Well,
find with the best sound I
absolutely.
can find. It's just two big monsters fighting it out, and this is the kind of movie I'm not going looking for deep, meaningful drama and dialogue. I just want to watch monsters fight, and the last one gave it to me. Hopefully, this one will too.
Godzilla vs. Kong, when Godzilla and Kong were on screen, was great. But the problem is that they focus too much on the humans. And even though outside of Rebecca Hall, even though the cast was a great cast, I gave zero shits about the humans. So it's just like, come the fuck on, which is what Godzilla minus one did phenomenally. Um, I, this is probably the first Godzilla movie that I am not. I mean, it's still my anticipated, obviously, because it's Godzilla. But watching that trailer did not do much for me. It didn't. I mean, Kong looks like he's wearing the fucking power glove. Godzilla's got the Yas Queen Barbie pink fucking atomic blast now. It's just like it doesn't feel like Godzilla anymore. But then you got Godzilla minus one over here going, this is fucking Godzilla. You're like, yes, this is Godzilla. And then there's this, which I enjoyed it. And then Monarch I still haven't watched past episode 3 of Monarch because I just kind of don't care. I'll eventually catch up because I think it ends this week or something like that, and then we have to talk about it on the show. But yeah, Dan Stevens is a real get. Dan Stevens says add him into our group as well of guys that we want to get boosted up higher. I'm glad they gave Rebecca Hill a shit haircut. That brings me great joy, just to watch her with that shitty ass haircut. This movie is either gonna surprise me or it's gonna be, or if it doesn't surprise me and it's bad, and be like, I fucking knew it. I was expecting this. I want it to be good. I do. I don't want it to suck. I want to be happy with it. But the trailer, especially because they dropped the trailer literally 2 days after Godzilla minus one came out. So it's like, guys, we need to make sure you guys know that this one's coming out. It's like, don't try to piggyback off of minus one's success. That's what kind of irked me, was that they dropped it literally 48 hours after. It's like, no, you need to let that breathe. Don't try to take minus one's thunder.
I think this Godzilla looks better than that Godzilla, but that's just me.
I strongly disagree. Not that this one looks bad, but no, it doesn't look anywhere near as good as minus one's. But anyway, we are now into our top 10. I know my number 10 is not in Brian's list because Brian thinks that the first one was overrated as shit. And that is, I'm gonna say it wrong, so I'm just gonna say Joker 2 instead of Vola
do. Yeah.
Whatever the fuck it is. I really enjoyed the first Joker film. I thought Joaquin Phoenix did a great job. So naturally, I am down for more Joker. Lady Gaga as the new Harley Quinn. I thought she was fantastic at A Star Is Born, but that's because she was literally playing her fucking self in that. There wasn't much range needed for it. Granted, her scenes with Bradley Cooper were fantastic. This one is going to be interesting. I don't know if she has what it takes to be Harley Quinn. I will love to be wrong. But it's an intriguing thing. I don't know if I'm excited for it in terms of I can't wait to see this, but more I'm anticipating this because I am really just curious if they're able to strike lightning again in a bottle with this. Because I think on paper, I don't think Joker should have worked. Especially with Todd Phillips of all directors. The guy who did fucking Old School and Hangover. Are you kidding me? So I feel like he just caught lightning in a bottle. I'm really curious to see if he can do it again. So I'm more anticipating this because I just want to see what they're bringing to the table. I'm not excited, but just intrigued.
Yeah, I didn't hate Joker. I thought it was fine. I just kind of, thought it was hugely overrated, like you mentioned. Joaquin did a great job in it, I thought. It was just one of those movies why? I just didn't understand the reason for it existing. I didn't kind of like the tone they were going from, like especially when you had another Joker going. Now that's the one thing is the only thing you had to compare him against was Jared Leto's Suicide Squad
At the time,
Joker at the time, because the last great Joker had been, Heath Ledger back in 2008. So it's like they'd had some time to breathe. I think that Lady Gaga is going to have a tough time because Harley Quinn, the Margot Robbie version, is
Margot.
so fresh
Well,
in their
you got
mind.
Margot, and then you got Kaylee, Kuko.
Oh yeah, and then there's the animated one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that she's gonna have a hard time because obviously it's gonna be a whole very different take on it, a more grounded thing, just like the Joker is kind of a whole different kind of character than in the other ones. But I think that people are gonna have a harder time separating. She's gonna be compared to those other ones a lot more than Joaquin was.
Joaquin has an easy. Joaquin just show up and just do what he does. Lady Gaga's gonna have all the eyes on her.
Yeah, but she might not be the same over the top kind of exuberant Harley Quinn that the other versions have had. This could be a completely different take on it, so we don't know where they're going with it. I'm not hugely excited for this movie. I'll see it, I'll watch it, but see what it is.
Yeah. What is your number 10?
My number 10, it was on my list last year, but it's actually supposedly coming out this year. It is called Havoc. This is a movie by Gareth Evans, who directed The Raid and The Raid 2. It is about, after a drug deal gone wrong, a bruised detective must fight his way through a criminal underworld to rescue a politician's estranged son while unraveling a deep web of corruption and conspiracy that ensnares the entire city. I believe it's based on a graphic novel.
It is.
But Gareth Evans is the main draw for me, of course, because I love The Raid and The Raid 2. Because great feel for action, the way he films action, it just feels brutal, and I love the way he does it. Your cast, your top three people in this are Tom Hardy, Forrest Whitaker, and our friend Timothy Oliphant. So I've been anticipating this movie for like over a year now, and so hopefully we'll actually see it this year.
This was also my anticipated last year. Forgot about it because I haven't heard a single fucking thing since anticipated last year about this film. So I also don't think this movie comes out because I haven't heard a single new thing since January of 2023. But yeah, I mean, if it does come out, I'll be excited to watch it for the cast alone and the director, but I haven't heard a single thing about this. I don't know if there's movement or what about this movie. Number 9, I know was on your list, so it's either close to where my ranking is, or it's higher. So we might be talking about it a little bit later, and that is Ballerina.
I bet higher.
Okay, so we'll talk about that later.
At number 8, I have my only untitled movie, my untitled Radio Silence Monster Project. It was called.
Wow, you have that high. Damn.
Yeah, well, it's a couple things. It's from Universal Studios. I do not believe it is a Universal monster like Dracula, Frankenstein. It's not like a Universal Monsters movie. It is just a monster story from them. There is now a synopsis on Letterboxd. I'm assuming it's accurate. I don't know. A young girl is abducted from her Boston brownstone in order to extract a ransom from her wealthy, shadowy father. But what seemed like a straightforward kidnapping turns out to be a far more complicated than her captors could have imagined. I don't see monster anywhere in there, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm like waiting to see where it can pick up where the Universal monster.
So I don't know if this is just a vague description or if this is an inaccurate description. I don't know. Radio Silence, the guys who were behind the last 2 Scream movies, as well as Ready or Not, are directing it. I've liked all 3 of those. Your cast, you have Melissa Barrera, you have Dan Stevens again, you have Catherine Newton's in this one, Kevin Durand, Giancarlo Esposito. I don't know. This is one I do feel like I probably have a little bit high, but it's like I've liked the horror movies these guys have made, and on top of that, you get a good cast like that behind them, and it's like it's already kind of set up to win for me. And I like to be surprised by good horror movies, so I'm optimistic for this one.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Scream 6. I love that cast that you named there. But I just need to know a little more of what this is before I can get excited for it. My number 8 is also probably higher on your list or relatively close because we're getting down to the nitty gritty, but I know this is on your list unless you fumbled the ball again. And that is Twisters.
Is my number 8 as well.
Okay, it's your number 8. Okay, so yeah, you and I have both enjoyed Twister. We both have probably watched Twister way more times than we'd like to admit. But this one is it's a direct sequel in terms of the casts are related to the characters from the first film.
I don't think it is. I
thought they said. I think they said that it was the daughter of Paxton and Hunt.
That's what people thought. But in promoting Anyone But You, Glenn Powell got asked a lot about this movie, and he was saying it's a complete reboot. It's not connected to the first film in any way. So who knows at this point?
That's not a make or break, regardless.
Oh yeah, it's not. I think there's definitely not going to be any. There's not going to be any characters from that one showing up in this one.
I mean, the only characters you would want to come back would be Paxton, Hunt, and probably Philip Seymour Hoffman.
And 2 of the 3 are dead.
Exactly.
But yeah, it sounds like it's not got any actual connection to that one supposedly. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, continue though.
No, I mean, like I said, you got Glenn Powell, you got Daisy Edgar Ridley, who I actually think is a nice up and coming actress.
Daisy Edgar Jones.
Jones, sorry. Jones. Yeah, I enjoyed both of them. Obviously, we talked about Glenn Powell already, but as long as they can bring the same energy that Twister brought and that same fun to it, then this is going to be one of the biggest surprises of the summer. At least hope is. But yeah, I mean, how can you not be excited for Twisters?
Yeah, Twister is one of my favorite, like, consummate summer movies. Like when I think of a summer movie, I think like especially this same summer you had Twister and Independence Day. That just felt like summer movie. Before summer movies were nothing but sequels and comic movies. You know, there was stuff like Twister and Independence Day, which I just loved the way these blockbusters. They were just fun. You went to see this kind of movie. I watched Twister, the first one, probably almost every year around like tornado season. And I just like it feels right. It just feels right to watch that.
Twister was always on my surround sound demo when I worked at Best Buy.
Oh yeah.
So I've seen like scenes of Twister like thousands of times.
Yeah, the day DVD came out, the first DVDs ever.
I was gonna say that. Yeah. It's like the first DVD I ever got.
Twister was one of the launch titles. It was the new release that day, and then a bunch of catalog stuff. And that was the one. I worked in a video store at the time, at a Suncoast Motion Picture Company, and that was on our demo of showing what DVD could do, and you had a whole sound system set up and everything too. So.
I was helping my mom move some stuff here earlier this week, and there's these like Tupperware bins that she was using to kind of keep a power cord elevated, and I was like, and I was moving some stuff. I was like, oh, you don't need this anymore. She goes, we'll go through that. I'm like, what is? She goes, I think it's old DVDs, and I was like, oh, okay. And I'm looking through it just to see if there's any that I need. A lot of them are ones that were DVDs that we bought as Blu-ray now, so we don't need them anymore. And in there was that Twister. And I just looked at it, I was like, I almost want to keep this. Like, I got a better version of it now, but I was like, just on principle of it. You know, kind of like if you find like those old like Disney ones with the old white like casings around. It's like, I'm never going to watch these, but I kind of want to keep them. And I was like, I saw Twister and I was like, I kind of don't want to let this go.
Yeah. So, I mean, we clearly love the original, and just based on that alone, we're going to be excited for a new one. It's apparently not an actual sequel to it. It's a reboot, which is fine. I just worry that the special effects won't feel so real anymore. They'll rely too much on digital things like that. It won't feel as you know, like you're there in the world. But we'll see. But then on top of that, like you said, you had the cast, which Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell. You didn't even mention Anthony Ramos is in there as well.
Yep.
David Cornsweat's in this. It'll be our first look at the new Superman. He's going to be in this one. So, and some other people I haven't heard of, but I bet I recognize the faces. Oh, Kieran Ship guy. I don't like her, but I'll overlook that. So yeah. So I'm excited for this one as well. That was my number 8.
My number 7, I know, is not on your list because you didn't care that much for the first one, which I loved, and that is Inside Out 2. I love the first Inside Out film. I thought it was much like how Pixar used to be. It was original. Loved the voice work, had the heart to it and the humor to it. It was a surprisingly great film for me. So the sequel, I'm open to it. But like most Pixar sequels outside of Toy Story, sequels haven't really been that strong, but I'm hoping Inside Out will break that mold. They're not bringing back some of the same cast. I know Bill Hader and Mindy Mindy Kaling. Is it Kaling?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For some reason, it just didn't sound right in my head. They're not coming back, so they're being replaced. Not necessarily a huge loss there, at least by their voice counterparts. Their characters weren't really that big of a voice in the first film anyway. And we're adding, Maya Hawke, and I don't know what the rest of the voice cast is for the new characters yet, but as long as they can bring that same heart and humor and originality to this, I will be excited to see this.
Yeah,
Uh,
Inside Out is just another one of those that just for me, it's like the first one was fine. I'll probably watch the second one, but not. I'm just not in Pixar movies mostly. My number 7 most anticipated at the time I made this list is The Book of Clarence.
yes, Brian got to see an early screening of this.
I did.
And this was on my list until Brian told me.
Oh, you took it completely off the list?
I took it off the list.
Oh,
You think it'd be in the top 6 for me?
Well, that's why I was surprised you hadn't said it yet, because I mean,
it
I
was
wouldn't have taken
like
it.
it was in the 20s, and then you told me what you thought of it. I was like, I'm just gonna take it off the list.
Well, see, I don't know if I would have taken it completely off the list, but anyway, I made my list. I put this at number 7 because of one reason alone, and that's James Samuel, the director of The Harder They Fall. Harder They Fall, we both loved. That is a great movie. It had a very unique style all its own. It was very exciting, new filmmaker kind of on the scene.
Yep.
It had great characters, great dialogue, a great look to the film. Everything about it worked for me. This one has the same director. This time, instead of a Western, he's taken on his version of a biblical epic. He's on another good cast. I don't think it's as strong as the last cast, but it has Lakeith Stanfield in it. R.J. Seiler is in this one as well. David Oyelowo, however you pronounce his name. Alfred Woodard.
James McAvoy.
Yeah, Omar Sy. James McAvoy and Benedict Cumberbatch are in there in smaller roles. So this one I was very excited for. I saw the first trailer. I'm like, trailer didn't blow me away, but I loved Harder They Fall so much. I'm gonna have faith in this one.
Harder They Fall's first trailer didn't blow me away either.
Yeah, the trailer. I didn't watch the movie at all, I think, until after you told me that you loved it so much. I said, fine, I'll watch it, and I loved it as well. And I won't go into too much what I saw. I will say I saw it. I thought it was good, but I was disappointed by it. But at the time I made this list, for purposes of anticipated list, it was my number 7.
My number 6 is 1,000% not on Brian's list because Brian didn't care for the first one, and that's Dune Part 2. The first Dune movie I thought was good, but much like Rebel Moon, it felt like it was setting up for what was coming to it, but did it way fucking better than Rebel Moon did because it actually had an actual plot and story and acting to it. The cast is strong. It's going to get even stronger in the sequel. The trailers that they've been dropping for this looks great. I am so excited to see Dune Part 2. Had to rewatch the first one again because it's been a couple years. But yeah, the Austin Butler looks fucking insane in this movie. But I'm actually generally excited to see Dune Part 2. I know you don't give a rat's ass about these movies.
Again, this is a movie I saw and I thought it was fine. I just think it's highly overrated, and I'm not super excited for the next one, but I'll watch it.
All right. What is your number 6?
You already mentioned this was A Quiet Place Day One.
Mm-hmm.
When I saw the first, 10 minutes of Quiet Place Part 2, and they kind of had that day one scenario, I was like, this is what I would love to see. That was my favorite part of that movie. This is the best part of that movie, was just, watching like the first arrival and its chaos before people know, what's happening and knows about how they operate and things like that. Tons of fun. So to make a whole movie based on the same concept, it's great. There aren't a lot of details. We don't really know, exactly where it's taking place, things like that. All I know is that it is Quiet Place Day One, and the cast includes Lupita Nyong'o, Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things again, Alex Wolff, and Jaimin Hansu. So yeah, I'm super excited for this one.
The only thing that keeps it from not being higher up is that we're not getting Krasinski or Emily Blunt in this, or at least they're not acknowledging that they're going to be in this.
Yeah, Krasinski did write it and he's produced it, but it's directed by Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig. It's the only major movie he's done.
Which I loved Pig. I thought Pig was fantastic. Yeah. But just knowing that they're not going to be in it, and Hansu was in the sequel, so obviously he's playing the same character.
Yeah.
Which they were like in an area. I remember they were like in a little town or like a little like cove or whatever where everything was going well until fucking the daughter and Cillian Murphy showed up and then fucking caused all that crap to happen. But yeah, I mean, it's Quiet Place. As long as the new directors, which like I say, or director, like I said, I liked it Pig. If he can bring the same energy that Krasinski brought, then I'm sure I'm going to love this movie. The second movie was not as good as the first one, but I'm hoping they could bring that first one's energy back too.
Well, you know what? The second one I thought was very well made. I think the problem with the second one is that it was kind of just the first one all over again. You know, their kind of journey was a little bit the same thing. Like, oh, we're gonna go and play this sound to scare them away, but on a bigger speaker.
Well,
And
the problem I have with the second one is you split up the family,
there is that as well.
and
Yeah.
two, the brother just got stupid.
Yeah.
In that, I was like, you need to die, dude. You're just being dumb.
And I like that this one, like, we're meeting a whole new group of characters, so we're not tied to any of that of breaking up the family. So we're going to see a whole new group of people, and we don't have any attachment to who they are with each other. So
Yeah.
we'll see where it goes.
My number 5 is a movie that I heard about last year that was going to come out, but you didn't quite know if it was actually a legitimate thing or just full of shit until it released a trailer last month, or it might have been in November. Brian and I both love this franchise. Especially the first 2 films. I really enjoyed the third film. I don't know if Brian does, but I'm excited to see this back. But I'm a little hesitant, but I'm still excited, and that is Kung Fu Panda 4. I am. It's late. Kung Fu, not Kung Poo. Jesus, Kung Fu Panda 4.
I wasn't going to correct you.
I heard it and I was like, God damn it, Sean.
You shouldn't say
Jack
breath
Black.
again.
Yeah, Jack Black is Poe. Like he was born for that role. I love the first one. The second one is just as good, if not better. The third one, not as good, but still solid. The fourth one, I'm excited for. I believe they said, oh God, who's playing the villain in this? It's a big name. Viola Davis is playing the villain in this one. She plays the chameleon. You got Awkwafina in it. Obviously, like Jack Black is back. The main worry that both Brian and I have is it doesn't look like the Furious 7 is barely in it at all. Furious 5, not Furious 7. That's fucking Fast and
That's
Furious.
a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a movie. The Furious 5 are not in it, if at all, which it's like, well, that's a bummer if that's the case. But still, it's Kung Fu Panda. I love this franchise. I love the character. I love how they shoot the action, how everything looks with it, and everything. So I obviously has to be up here in my top 5. But yeah,
I didn't put it on my list.
Wow, really?
I mean, I enjoyed the first 2 Kung Fu Pandas are great. The third one I enjoyed quite a bit, but like you said, it's not quite as good as the other 2. But of course, since then they've done like a TV series and all these other things, Kung Fu Panda, and I'm like, okay, they're gonna make a 4th one after all this time. Like, okay, fine. But honestly, once the trailer dropped and stuff, my interest, I still am gonna see it. I still am optimistic about it, or at least hopeful. But it's like my interest dropped a lot because the Furious 5 isn't it. It's like now it's just gonna be Poe and these villains. It's like, well, kind of what made it fun was him and the Furious 5. Now, Letterboxd still has them listed, Angelina Jolie and Jackie Chan and Seth Rogen and all them.
They'll be like the
part of the
Guardians
cast.
in Thor 3. They'll be in like the first 7 minutes.
I think they're going to be in it for like a scene because they're not anywhere in the trailer. They're not anywhere on the poster. There's 10 characters on the poster for this movie. None of those 5 are any of them. So I don't think they're going to be in it much, if at all. It's got Awkwafina as a voice, which that can be good. It can be bad. We'll see where that goes.
Stop. We're doing what we always do. We immediately start getting negative about Awkwafina, but then she ends up being really good, and we end up having to like backtrack, except for Little Mermaid. But we got to stop doing that.
And again, another job for Ke Huy Quan, so glad to see him still get more work. So this is one I'm looking forward to it, but it's just I think it was almost kind of like you said. I don't remember which movie was at a protest. I'm like, you know what? You're gonna put them on there. I'm taking you off my list.
What was your number 5?
My number 5 you mentioned is Ballerina.
That was Red One, by the way. That a protest that I took out.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. Ballerina. Basically a movie that's taking place in the world of John Wick. It obviously they introduced kind of Angelica Houston had like her ballerinas where she's hosting. Obviously they're going to be like kind of the female action side of this world. The main attraction of this is Ana de Armas, starring in this movie, hopefully getting to show what she can do which she wasn't able to do in James Bond film No Time to Die. She did get to a
No,
little
she
bit
did,
in,
it's just in a very small window.
yeah.
We wanted to
She
see her do it in Ghosted, and she didn't do it.
had a little bit to do in Gray Man.
A little
She had
bit,
to
very, very
show a little
little
bit of
bit.
action there. But I mean, you're gonna have appearances from a lot of. Apparently, Keanu Reeves is gonna appear in this movie, probably not in a big part. Lance Reddick and Ian McShane are both in this movie. Lance obviously did this before he
You know what
died.
it'll be? Their scenes are just going to be them during John Wick Part 2, and they're just in the background. And you realize Ana de Armas was on like the stage the entire fucking time, but you just didn't know. Like
Maybe
that'll be what it'll be. It'll be that.
honestly, it'd be kind of interesting. But I mean, it's not directed by Chad Stahelski, who did all the John Wick movies. This is directed by Len Wiseman. But Len Wiseman's also the guy who came in and did Live Free or Die Hard, which some people don't like. I really like
I
that
like
movie.
it.
The fifth one's trash, but I
Yeah,
actually like Live Free or Die Hard.
Brian and
So
I are surprisingly like locked in on our diehards, like exactly the same.
yeah.
So
Um, so I have no problem. I don't think it'll be quite up to the level of like the John Wick movies, but I have high
no.
hopes for this movie. The Continental is kind of our first exposure, the Peacock series, to like the John Wick world, but like not the main John Wick movies. But even like Chad Stahelski in recent interviews, like trying to distance himself, like we kind of didn't have anything to do with that. That's kind of the studio wanted to just make a show and connect it. So, but this one they're heavily involved in, so hopefully this one will be what we want it to be.
yeah, I think if Ballerina can at least match John Wick 1 and John Wick Chapter 2, I think it would be a success. I don't think it'll match John Wick Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. Or I'm sorry, they're not all chapter, but you know what I'm talking about. I think if it can match the first two films, I think it would be a success. I don't think it's gonna touch 3 or 4 though. But yeah, Ana de Armas. If she can bring the same energy she brought in with No Time to Die, then I'm gonna enjoy it, and hopefully it's just fun. That's the
Yeah.
main thing you gotta have with John Wick is fun. If it's not fun, then what are we doing?
But not too much fun because, like you said, Ghosted has me a little bit worried. A
No,
little
I'm
bit.
talking about fun and with John Wick films. I'm not talking about Ghosted with like a rom com kind of
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, but my number 4 is a movie that you brought up a while ago. And like I said, I loved the recent trilogy of this. Two of those movies were my number 1 film of the year when they came out, and they are now doing a new. I don't know if it's a new trilogy or series or what have you, but it is set 300 years after the events of the first trilogy, and that is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Um, like I said, I love the most recent Apes trilogy. I am not crazy about the old school Apes, and no one talks about Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes. But the even though he only did 2 out of the 3, the Matthew Reeves Planet of the Apes trilogy is fantastic, or we can at least call it the Andy Serkis Planet of the Apes trilogy is great. But Serkis is not coming back. Neither is Matthew Reeves, and so those are the two things that hold kind of worry or pause for me on this. The movies still look great. I'm hoping that with those two gone, this movie can still match and hit the magic that made me love those films so much. The trailer was good, not great, but it was a teaser, so we only know bare bones of what it is. But I love the last trilogy, so I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah, this is what I wanted to put on my list, but I didn't put it high simply because I don't have enough of a feel for it yet. They did release that first teaser, and it really truly was just a teaser,
Yeah,
which didn't really tell me much of anything. Like I don't even know. I'm assuming I don't think there's any humans in this movie at all. I think it's
yeah,
just gonna
there is.
be. Are there humans in this?
There's
Oh, it
humans in
did
the
show them in
trailer.
there. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, it's centuries later, so you have none of the same characters to kind of grasp onto. So I
The
gotta look.
lead is like a descendant of Caesar, but not like, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm hopeful this is good. And the director, Wes Ball, the only thing he's done besides this, the Maze Runner movies, which, as far as the whole like teen dystopian, you know, uh, teen based on literature kind of books, I thought the Maze Runner was probably one of the best series. I liked it more than Hunger Games and more than Divergent and things like that. I thought those were very well done. So I kind of trust the director. I'm curious to see what he'll do with this, but yeah, I just need to see more before I put it higher on my list.
Gotcha. What's your 4?
My number 4, I hope, is on your list. It is The Fall Guy.
Talk about it a little while.
Okay.
Okay. My number 3 you brought up earlier, and this was a movie that was on my list last year, even though Brian was like, "That's not coming out. It's not coming out. It's not coming out." It was going to come out, but the writer's strike pushed it, and that is Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. I really enjoyed Ghostbusters Afterlife. Knowing that all the characters are coming back that we grew with in the first film, and they're back in New York, not on a fucking farm, and then you're bringing back the OG cast, and it looks like that they're actually ghostbusting in this movie. That first teaser trailer got me super excited. Everything about it, I was excited for. Paul Rudd looks like he's gonna have so much fun doing this. Like I said, you got the original cast. I'm happy to see them. I don't want them to overtake it because even in the first movie, the little moment that we got of them was good, but I'm glad they didn't overtake it. Patton Oswalt has joined the cast, so has Kumail Nanjiani. If they're going to be Ghostbusters with Paul Rudd, that's going to be interesting with the young cast. I think McKenna Grace is probably one of the best young actresses out there today. Finn Wolfhard, I can take him or leave him. I love Carrie Coon. But yeah, this looks good. Oh, also, if this is the actress I'm thinking of. Yeah, also on here, Emily Allen Lynn, which you'll know from Doctor Sleep and The Babysitter. She's also going to be in this. So I don't know if she's going to have a big role or not, but I really want to see her in other things, and knowing that she's going to be in this got me a little bit more excited. But yes, this I'm so happy that we're finally getting this, and I'm excited to see where they go with this. I almost want to see a full trailer, but then I also am like, I don't know if I want to see any more. But I'm excited for this movie.
My heart wanted to put this higher on my list, but honestly, the first trailer didn't do anything for me. It was just a teaser, but I kind of watched it. I'm kind of like, it didn't get me excited for the movie at all. But just being Ghostbusters, and because I did like Afterlife so much, I am excited for this movie. So it made my list, just not quite as high as yours, for a lot of the same reasons that you said. I also, as far as returning people, I do like that Annie Potts is supposedly going to be in this movie a little bit more. She only got to be in like a credit sequence of the first one, and they're bringing back William Atherton, who is Walter Peck. So I'm glad to see him back. I'm curious to see what they do with him. But yeah, I hope this one's good. I hope this is good.
I hope he got a dick because he didn't have one in Ghostbusters. If you don't get that joke, then you are not a Ghostbusters fan. What is your number 3?
My number 3, I'm guessing it's not on your list because it wouldn't be in your top 2. It is Wicked Part 1.
It's not because I don't care about the Wizard of Oz. And I let's put it this way. If this is good, it'll be right there for surprising. I was looking at this thing, I was like, Brian's gonna be so annoyed with me that this is not even on.
No, I didn't expect it to be on your list.
But yeah,
No, I mean, everyone around here knows I'm a sucker for musicals. And the music in this one is phenomenal. I've never gotten to see the live show because when it was in nearby Chicago, it was too exorbitantly priced. I didn't get a chance to see it. But I've seen a lot of clips from it, and I've listened to the soundtrack to it and things like that. And the songs are amazing. So I'm really looking forward to finally getting to see this. I wish they'd make more movies of like stage musicals so people that can't go see them live can go, at least see some version of it like this. If there's anything that holds you back, I'm, obviously, Bettina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth are far too old to be doing these roles anymore. So they got Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, who are both talented singers. And I don't know if I've seen Ariana Grande act. I've seen Cynthia Erivo act. So I don't know.
Ariana Grande, that's the one thing I was like,
But I think because the people, John M. Chu is directing this, the guy who did In the Heights, so I think it's going to look phenomenal. I think the story. I don't care about the Wizard of Oz, the actual Wizard of Oz, that much, but I think I like this story, which is kind of like this was kind of the progenitor to things like Maleficent and some of these other things. Where like, let's take a story and maybe the villain and kind of look at it from their kind of point of view and how they got to be who they are, and so I like that approach to it. So the story's good, the song's good. The actors, I hope, are good. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited for this movie. I need more movie musicals. That's all.
My number 2 is a movie that you literally just brought up, and that is Fall Guy. This is a movie that like literally came out of nowhere, and then a trailer dropped for it, like what, back in October, and you and I both just immediately like fell in love with this trailer. This movie looks so much fun. Funny Gosling is best Gosling. I mean, hell, look at what's happening to him with Ken from Barbie, because he just lets himself go, and he has a blast. Emily Blunt looks like she's having fun with this. The story, the plot, the fucking trailer was great. If the movie brings the same energy that the trailer brought, this movie is going to be one of the most fun movies of the summer. It looks great. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, this is one. It wasn't a surprise to me only because I've been following this forever. Because it's directed by David Leitch, another one of the guys behind John Wick, and who also went on to do everything from like Hobbs and Shaw to Deadpool 2 and some other things. No,
Did
he
he
didn't
do
do
Bullet
Deadpool.
Train?
No, that was Tim Miller. He did
Didn't he do Bullet Train?
yeah, he Bullet Train,
Yeah.
Atomic Blonde was him. Yeah, sorry, I got sidetracked there. But he's like Chad Stahelski. Those two guys were basically stuntmen and stunt coordinators who went on to do directing. And so not only what does he direct this, the action's going to look good. This has been like a passion project of his, because the whole thing is the story is about a stuntman. So he's like, because it was based on a TV show starring Lee Majors that was about the stuntman. And she's like, I'm going to make a movie. This is going to be like my passion project. I want to make this movie about the world of stuntmen. So I think that having somebody who is so passionate about the story and about the characters, I think is going to be great. I think he's the best action director working today, in my opinion, as far as staging and filming action and stunts. Like you said, Ryan Gosling, he looks to be this one. He's very much seems like kind of that nice guys mode of funny Ryan Gosling. It looks like it's gonna be lots of fun. So, and then you add in again Aaron Taylor Johnson along with Hannah Waddingham from Ted Lasso.
Yep.
Stephanie Sue, Teresa Palmer. So this is just going to be a fun movie.
Yeah, like I said, Gosling made me laugh so hard during this trailer, and I can only imagine what the rest of the movie is going to be like. What was your number 2?
My number 2 you talked about much earlier. It's Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Mad Max Fury Road is one of the most perfect action films to me in the last several decades, as far as just a pure action movie, because it's very short on story, but that's all it's trying to be. It's just a journey there and a journey back and the crazy action that takes place in between. And then on top of that, it looked phenomenal. It sounded phenomenal. This movie won the most Oscars that year at the Oscars. It wasn't like it got nominated for Best Picture, I believe. It didn't win it, but it won like 10 other awards, like all the technical stuff, cinematography and art direction and sound and all that kind of stuff. And it deserved everything it got. We heard they talked about making a sequel, which I was looking forward to. And they said, oh no, we're going to do Furiosa, but it's going to be a prequel, which, okay, but now it's not Charlize Theron. That's disappointing. But yeah. Anya Taylor-Joy is a good actress. And we finally saw the first trailer for it just a month or two ago. And it looks like it could be pretty good. It's hard to tell a George Miller movie, especially Mad Max George Miller movie, from the trailers. But she looks like she's kind of captured the spirit that Charlize Theron had. The look of it looks amazing again. Chris Hemsworth got a bit of big fake nose, a little distracting, but maybe when you watch it in the movie after a couple minutes, it won't be distracting you quite as much. But he looks like he gets to sink his teeth into a role and just kind of have fun as kind of it appears to be kind of the villain of the story. So just based on that cast and based on my love of the first film, I'm really excited to see this movie.
Yeah, this one, a lot of it's kind of like what you said. I wanted Charlize Theron back. Obviously, it's just like in the Mad Max world, so we're probably not going to see Mad Max at all in the film. I like Anya Taylor-Joy. I just don't know if I like her in this role. We've never really seen her in a role like this, so it's one of those where it's like, if she can pull it off, fantastic. I just don't know if she can. I should be confident in her, because I don't think Anya's necessarily disappointed me in any role. There's been movies she's been in that sucked, but never really outside of her performance of it. Hemsworth, it looks like he's just gonna have fun with this, fake nose and all. Like, just let him go play and enjoy it. But that's the thing is with the trailers. The trailers just didn't really wow me. It just looked like this looks like a lot of the same stuff we've already seen before. And Anya Taylor-Joy, at least in the trailer, it doesn't look like she's captured the Furiosa character. It's just like she's cosplaying as Charlize Theron. Now, like I said, it was a teaser. You can come out with a full trailer, or I could watch the first 10 minutes of this movie and be like, all right, no, she's got it. But it's just the trailer itself just didn't do enough to make me go, ooh, I'm so glad we're coming back to this. Where it's like, did we have to go back to this? And that's my general worry. I'm hoping I'm wrong and it exceeds expectations, and we're talking about it. Excuse me.
We're almost there, Sean. One more to go.
I know. We're at the last one. Home stretch. I'm hoping that we talk about this at the end of the year. In a positive light.
And not in disappointments. Yes.
Exactly. Our number one looks to be the same, unless Brian's gonna pull a fucking Batman on me like he did 2 years ago, where I thought it was number one, and he's like, it's not even on my list. But my number one should be on his number one because he is excited about this movie. I know he is. And that is Deadpool 3.
I forgot to put that on here. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's my number one as well. Yes.
I mean, how can this not be it on anyone's like top tier list? I mean, first off, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, check. You're bringing back fucking Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Fucking, that's it. All the checks galore at that point. Just knowing, because the great thing about this, not that I have to explain this to Brian, but for you guys, this has been being built since the first Deadpool movie with all the Hugh Jackman jokes and them pulling pranks on each other just outside of the movie. It's just like Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman together just fucking around with each other. And now you got to put them in the same movie and it's going to be Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't even know what the fucking script or plot of this movie is, but just knowing that these two are going to be in a movie together and they're playing their two biggest characters, that's all I need. They could just be sitting in a room fucking around with each other, beating the shit out of each other, and I'm still going to be excited for that. That is how much I am amped up for Deadpool 3. Literally just because those two are going to be together. I could not be more excited. I don't care about all this excess, like, oh, this person's going to have a cameo, and cameo. You could do Deadpool kills the MCU with Wolverine there for fun. I would be okay with that. Like, so, or they could just be sitting in a room with the roommate, the old lady roommate, and just have them just be talking shit to one another. I would still be happy with this. I can't wait. It's July now. Is it July?
I think so.
I think it's June or July. It's one or the other. I want to say it's July.
They kept bumping it. I think it is July because it was May, and I think they moved it 2 months. So yeah, July.
But yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the first two Deadpool movies, I love them both. Obviously, the first one I think is the best. The second one I still loved. Some people were disappointed by it, not me. I love that movie. This time we got a third one. This time the director is Sean Levy, who did Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. He also did Adam Project with Ryan Reynolds. So I have complete faith in him being able to handle this. But the appeal of this is 100% Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman together. Because I mean, Wolverine is gonna find Deadpool insufferable. It's gonna be just this. I almost feel like it's gonna be like a road trip film, and there's gonna be.
The question is if how it's gonna happen at least once.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times is he gonna rip Deadpool in two? It's got to happen at least once. There's got to be, and then you got upper adult version Ryan with like baby legs and baby butt and all this shit. Like if they don't do that, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, no, because it's gonna be fun just to watch the two of them play together. Because they're gonna hate each other. Well, at least Hugh Jackman, Wolverine's gonna hate Deadpool. Like the plot is nothing's gotten out, although based on some of the things we know as far as like the appearance of people from the Fox universe, like I think Jennifer Garner's the one that's been confirmed to be in it, but there's other people that are rumored to be in it as far as cameos.
I've been staying away from everything.
Yeah, and there have been like set photos which suggest certain things. It sounds like this was going to be a very meta movie about essentially the collapse of the 20th Century Fox universe of that, and probably has to do with because obviously because Disney bought it, and that this is shutting down, and they're going to be reintroduced in the MCU. Some people think that it's going to be actual connective tissue to the MCU. It's not. They're not going. Deadpool has always existed kind of outside of the actual, timelines and things of the film because he comments on it. He can't comment on the actors and the things like that, and
it's
they'll be
no
part of it.
different with She-Hulk now. It's like you can't throw her in
Yeah.
to the narrative plot when you literally had her talk to the fucking robot of you can't
It's like I have no problem. I enjoyed that part of Shield. That's the best part of Shield was that
I
part.
did too, but you can't just all of a sudden
But she can't make her an actual part of the actual
yeah,
universe now.
she can't be in the Avengers movie fighting in against Kang or whoever the fuck the
Right.
new bad guy is going to be now because
And
it's
this
like
is going to be the same way. It's going to
yeah
be them commenting. Like I honestly, when I first heard Hugh Jackman was going to be in this, I was kind of hoping that he was playing Hugh Jackman, and like Deadpool would just keep calling him Wolverine. He's like, I'm not Wolverine. I'm an actor. I played a character.
that or he goes back in time when Hugh Jackman is shooting X-Men and he's like I'm playing a role. No, you are Wolverine, and I love you.
But because I mean, obviously, he's even referred to Hugh Jackman in the movie as Deadpool. So it's a very meta thing. They're going to have total fun with everything from their relationship with each other, as well as the Fox Disney thing. I guarantee there'll be commentary on Disney in this, and it's going to be just a movie that's meant to be nothing but fun. And people are going to try and look too hard for cameos or for connections or this we thought this was going to introduce us, figure out how we're going to get the X-Men into the MCU. It's not. Lower your expectations right now because you're going to disappoint yourselves like you did with Doctor Strange.
Just go
Yeah,
in and enjoy Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman as Deadpool and Wolverine.
that's all this is meant to be.
Just go in with that mindset, and if you get other shit, cool. If you don't, just enjoy these two being together because that's the whole reason to see this movie. If we
Yep.
get extra shit, that's just icing on a big ass cake that we're already gonna eat the shit out of. But I mean, and Sean Levy, like I really really enjoy him. He's worked with Hugh Jackman before. I think it was on Real Steel, which
Mhm.
is I think a really underrated movie. I think that one's really really good as well. So you got guys who know how to work together and bounce off ideas. If this movie doesn't hit for me, I can't think of a more disappointing film. Well, I mean, Indiana Jones is really disappointing to me, but this would be on an epic scale.
This to me feels like as close to a sure thing as you can get. This one, I mean, it might not be my number one film at the end of the year, but I will be shocked if I'm actually disappointed by this movie.
I am almost worried that I am going in with too high of expectations and it won't reach. So I got to find some way to lower it without hearing word of mouth. So that way I don't, Tropic Thunder this thing where I went like, this is going to be amazing. You're like, it really wasn't that good. And then I had to
If
wait.
nothing else, I cannot wait to see the marketing for this movie because for the first two, everything from the just internet spots to billboards and things is perfect marketing.
Yeah, this is going to be great. But that is it. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys did, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. Of course, we're going to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, we're still waiting for some legitimate movie news to come out outside of Kang not being Jonathan Majors anymore and Scream dying. There's not really a whole lot for us to talk about on Movie Crusaders chat about. So we're gonna take this little break because we shot a lot in the last week, and Sean's edited a lot in the last week. So we'll take this little week off of not having to shoot anything. Brian, you did see, like I said, you saw Book of Clarence. You thought it was okay, but a little bit disappointing. You also did see the Beekeeper.
I did. I saw The Beekeeper tonight. And it's very much, I think I said in an interview, Jason Statham trying to find his John Wick. It kind of feels like they're trying to set this up to maybe be a franchise that could go on. But I have no problem with that because honestly, this is Jason Statham's best film in years. I thought it's directed by David Ayer. It's a ton of fun. It's got Jeremy Irons in it, Josh Hutcherson, who is another guy I think that we both like. He gets to play a douchebag villain in this movie, so that's kind of fun to see him kind of something a little bit different. Mini Drivers in there in a small part, but it was actually it was great, like brutal, violent action. It wasn't anything toned down. It was definitely R-rated. I enjoyed it. I say check it out.
There is two other movies that come out this week. There's which Brian's probably not going to watch either one. There's Good Grief, which is a drama on Netflix with Dan Levy, who I love Dan Levy because I watched Schitt's Creek. So he's directed and written, and he's the lead in this. I think also blanking on the actor's name, but the lead from Yesterday, he's also in this movie as well.
Oh, I don't remember his name, but yeah.
So I'm probably gonna check that out. And then also I've heard great buzz about this foreign film called Society of the Snow. That got dropped on Netflix this weekend. People that I follow are talking this movie up massively as a huge film to check out. So if I watch both of those this weekend, I got a pretty big weekend already busy for me. But if I check them out and I feel like they're worth talking about, I'll shoot episode for them. If not, we will be coming back next week. We've got a few movies. We've got Lift on Netflix. We've got I have to pull up the list because there's like 4 or 5 things. We had a really busy.
Well, these are actually all this coming weekend. You got Book of Clarence, Lift,
Yeah.
Beekeeper, Self-Reliance on Hulu.
Yep.
And Mean Girls the musical.
Yeah, Mean Girls, which I am not seeing Mean Girls. Also Role Play on Prime Video as well. So like I said, a lot of movies. I'm definitely of all those, definitely going to see Self-Reliance. That one I'm definitely seeing. Book of Clarence, I may or may not see now because of Brian. I might just wait on that. But like I said, whatever we do see, if they're worth talking about, we will either shoot individual videos or we'll just bring them up and talk about them when we do Movie Crusaders chat about. But we will be coming up here. We got a big 2024. If you guys haven't figured it out on this video, a lot of movies excited to come out. Plus, like I said, this is maybe 20% of what's to come.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of other stuff I'm actually interested in seeing, but didn't make my list.
But yes, but expect to see a lot on this channel for that. But until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.